right. I hit the button. I hit the button. We'll see if it goes live. Yeah,
Live
a couple
from
weeks ago,
motherboard.
I ended up getting into a situation where I had to like cut the audio. It cut like the audio and video, and then last week it wouldn't even let me do that. So what I had to do was I just put in the title "Skip first 2.5 minutes." It
Is that the one with Lori?
was
Because I
absolutely
checked out
brutal.
I checked that one out. That was the one with Lori.
Yeah, I'm like, don't watch the first 2.5 minutes. All right, we are live on YouTube. Guys, welcome to the show. I am super, super excited about this. I always say that I'm not an NFL fan. Well, that I'm agnostic when it comes to teams, and that is true. But I do have a spot for the Dolphins in my heart. And so I am super excited today to bring on my friend Kyle Crabbs. And he's going to talk to me or talk with me, through me, all this stuff about the Dolphins. And I may get a little emotional. I'm like excited. Like usually I'm excited for like the blitz or whatever, but I am super excited. Kyle, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on with me and hanging out.
No, coach, listen, like the off season's a really fun time. The summertime is a really fun time for me to kind of tap into new resources. And this past summer, when I, first really started digesting a lot of your content, you are an invaluable, awesome resource, and it is awesome to be here with you tonight and talk a little football. And when you first said you were going to do like the chop ups for the NFL All 22, I got really excited. And then like the first month of the season happened and the Dolphins defense was awful. And I said, oh, well, I guess he's never going to get around to a Dolphins game. And then lo and behold, the defense comes alive the last couple of weeks. And here we are. So I can't wait to hear you chop this up in real time and talk through it with you.
So, first of all, thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate it. And I told you this during the pre-interview, but I was hired as a hired gun this next couple of weeks for a team. And so I was like, I don't know, I might just need to postpone the show because I was like over the weekend, I was like in the middle of shit. I was just like, I don't know, man. I love doing this, but I got to get this stuff done. And then I started watching the game. Like I watched it live.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I had gotten my first shot, and so I was like knocked on my ass. And so I was like, I think it was really good, but let me get the all 22 and confirm that it's actually good.
Right.
So I watched it, and then I was like, oh, I really want to do this, but I don't know. And then a birdie hit me up last night and was like, hey, you want to learn some more about the Dolphins defense? And taught me some stuff. So I'm like, it's a sign, I got to do this. And so I hit Kyle up at like 10 o'clock this morning, being like, hey, man, because I was going to fly solo because I didn't want to get anybody on the hook and then say, oh, sorry, I didn't want to waste anybody's time. And so finally this morning I was like, all right, fine, I'm going to do it. And I was like, who can I hit up? And it wasn't even who can I hit up. I was like, I got to hit up Kyle. So thank you for coming on. Kyle, I want you to talk about what you do for the listeners because I got a mixed crowd. So there's going to be people that you bring in that have absolutely no idea who I am. So I probably should introduce myself. I'm going to have coaches that probably don't ever pay attention to the NFL, maybe not, the draft and that sort of thing. So like worlds are colliding here. So introduce yourself. Yeah. What do you do? What are you known for? Why do people love you?
Oh, I don't know about love, but I have been a draftnik for a really long time because I grew up loving this team. And every year come October, the end of October, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, playoffs aren't happening this year. I'm 33, so I got hooked in the mid 90s on the Dolphins. And ever since probably 05, 06, when Saban was there and then Saban leaves. And ever since, it's kind of just been thinking about next year. So when I finished with high school and transitioned into college, I did some high school level coaching during my college undergraduate, but I always wanted to get a little bit more involved. So I started doing scouting as a hobby, and it kind of developed into trying to build a portfolio online. Next thing you know, I kind of start my own website, and then there's a writing opportunity somewhere, and then there's a consulting opportunity for an agency that's looking for player evaluation. I've had a lot of people who have been very gracious with their time that have kind of helped me through the years to kind of build up my knowledge of the game. And and obviously listening and watching to a lot of great resources like Make the Defense Great Again and other excellent resources that are out there these days. And just kind of became a student of the game. And I had my own third-party scouting service, NDT Scouting, starting in 2013. They got absorbed into what is now known as the draftnetwork.com. I run the Locked On Dolphins podcast account. I, for 2 years, did USA Today's dolphinswire.com. I recently stepped away from that. We have an 11-month-old at home, so work-life balance. She doesn't care about my schedule, right? So just trying to find the best balance that I can. And I'm currently the director of scouting over at the Draft Network, and we have a great team of guys over there, some guys with league experience, some young guys that are hungry to learn. And we're just living the dream here, talking football and trying to learn from anybody and everybody that we run into, because you're a great example where anytime I listen to you talk, I can hear you go through stuff, but then I hear you talk and I learn something new every time. And, that's the really fun part for me about the game and working in this space is if you approach it with an open mind, you're probably going to walk away from every interaction with something valuable for you to apply in real time.
Well, you are so kind, man. You are great for the old self-confidence here, but I really, really appreciate that. I appreciate the work that you do. I used to be a draft Nick guru, whatever you want. I'm definitely not a guru, but enthusiast. But as I got away from the pro game, I stopped really paying attention. And this past year was the first year, and I was at first I was like, it's a draft. But I was just so impressed by the amount of people that were generating good content. Mm-hmm. And I, of course, saw you, and we talked a little bit, and just really, really impressed with what you do. Now, let's talk about the Dolphins. Tough year so far, up until a couple weeks ago. We had the Texans. I'm saying we, oh my God.
Welcome back.
Happening.
You're back, Vass. Let's go.
I always say this. So we learned I took a sport management class in Miami, and it's the weirdest term things, but it's called berging and corfing. And it means basking in reflective glory. So we did well, and then cutting off reflective failure, which is they were crap. So to anytime anybody says, "Oh, I'm a super fan," I ask them, I say, "Well, tell me about the last good season you had." Oh, no, 2017. And obviously this is not the Dolphins, but 2017 we were so great. Oh, we were so great. Well, what happened in the championship game? They just couldn't get it together, and then it turns into they. So I want to see if I always give people shit about this. So I want the chat to keep me in check. Also, the chat audio. You're my audio guys. I have a different process going. It's only the 6th one I've done. We'll try that. Fingers crossed. Let me know if you're hearing an echo. I'm gonna play DJ and try to manually mute myself. But once I start watching film, all bets are off. But anyway. So I can't believe I let the we slip, but I'm going to own it. I've had a tough year so far. 2 weeks ago, beat the Texans. It's like, all right, well, they're what a coach I used to work for called SBHs. That means speed bag with a heartbeat. So I watched the Texans defense early in the year, and I was convinced that 7 strategically placed ladders in the secondary would have played better defense. But then we get the Ravens. I did it again. The Dolphins get the Ravens, and all of a sudden, it's nails. It's absolutely fantastic. Mm-hmm. So, what is your overall? Before we get into the nuts and bolts, what was your overall take in the game? And Kyle, you said no echo. It doesn't start till the guest starts talking. So I'm going to run a test run. When Kyle answers this question, I'm not going to mute myself. As soon as you start to hear echo, let me know, and I'll hit the mute button. Hopefully, there is no echo. But Kyle, what were your thoughts watching that game and being like, where the hell was this all year? Like, what do you think is changing?
Yeah, so as you've watched this defense and you understand that some of the dynamics from veterans to young guys and that transition that took place this offseason, I think they've onboarded some of their young guys like Javon Holland, the safety, and Brandon Jones, who is a second-year safety. Those two guys on this defense, they've been using in a lot of pressure situations. And I don't think early on this season they necessarily felt comfortable putting all of that on their plate. Like Jason McCourty started the year as the free safety. And then about week 4, week 5, Holland's reps flipped over, but they were still playing vanilla. But if you go back to the Buffalo game, which was the week before the Houston game, these past 3 weeks, you've started to see more of the aggressive version of this team. And cornerback Xavier Howard echoed that after the Bills game. He said, this was the first time that we played a game that I felt was called like everything that we did last year. So I think, Coach Flores always talks about signal callers, and that's your Mike linebacker and it's your free safety in the back end. And Javon Holland being a rookie, I think that onboarding process has been the first half of the season, but now that it's done, and this Baltimore game is a great example because number 8 is everywhere. His fingerprints are all over this defensive performance for Miami. I think that's been a big catalyst for them to kind of get more aggressive and do a lot of the things that they want to do. They just want to make sure the communication is where it needs to be on the back end.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it because last year I watched some of the defense and I was excited, and I didn't get to study them in the offseason. I've had a crazy last 2 years, and I really spend most of my time in the college game. This is kind of a new thing. I mean, if you've ever listened to my podcast, and now granted, pro coaches are way harder to get because you have to go through media departments and all that shit. And I don't have the 4 letters behind my name, so it's really hard to get interviews. So I'm basically the guy that preps the people that have the juice to get those people. Right. But I had some gets that nobody got, like Dean Pease in retirement. Like nobody could even find him, so it's been kind of fun. Okay, no, Lamar's not a fraud. Come on, guys. We only make fun of play callers and stuff. Lamar Jackson is fantastic. It's not what happened the other day was not his fault. So I just want to say that, minus maybe like 2 plays. But I'm super excited to watch this because in the first, I don't know how many of these I've done, but it's been like, here's quarters and here's quarter, half, and here's a sim pressure. And today it's going to be just blunt force trauma. If you have children, get them out of the room. I don't think it's suitable for them. One thing I do want to say, we are going to start off. So in the chat, people are asking for a Packers breakdown. Here's the deal. I'm going to move ahead. I'll make y'all a deal. I'll do the Packers-Seahawks game tomorrow, but I'm not going to have time to prep for it because I got other stuff I got to do. So if we just do like a watch, like a live stream where I don't even know what the hell I'm seeing at first, and I'll see if I can get a guest, and then y'all got to help me recruit people to come watch because people come on Tuesday because they know I do it. So I need help spreading the word. So if y'all can make that happen and promise me you can get some people in here, we'll do it. Anyway, you guys are here to hear about the... You'll help? All right, I'm holding you to that.
I will help people get in people in here.
All right, cool. Because I think I'm going to try to get Justice to come on with me, Justice Mosqueda, but I don't want to speak for him because I literally just decided to do this. You guys, I'm a sucker to watch film. So let's get into the film. We're going to start off. We're gonna warm the crowd up. We're going to show the run fits first. So I want to kind of ease you guys into. I don't want to start showing 7-man pressures off the bat. You got to have a little bit of juice for that. So, but before we get started, I want to play this.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, 'cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Yes, we're the Miami Dolphins.
I used to sing that shit as a kid all the time. And also,
it's catchy.
I had a friend of mine or my dad or somebody had a dolphin, like a cookie jar, and whenever
the top opened,
and it was a dolphin, and whenever they'd make a play, they'd open it, and it would make this sound. All right, enough bullshit. I can't believe people will actually stay and watch for this. All right, let's get into the clips.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Make sure the film is good. Make sure it's smooth. I think it's framed all right. Let me move this around a little bit. Just want to make sure we're not getting anything cut off. Looks good to me. Oh, shit. Let me move this over just a tad. All right. Take it to the banjo solo. Said. It's the first time those words have ever been uttered. Charles, chill out, bro. All right, here we go. All right, so here's what the Dolphins did a lot of in the run game. Okay. Okay. So the biggest thing that they did, I think they call this Starfire 3, is they would rush an outside backer in their base stuff, and they'd bring a safety off the same edge. And what that did is it forced the run game. Well, you don't really see it on this play. So let's watch the first play. This is zone cut. I'll get into it in a second. Let me show you when they start running zone peel and all that stuff. So here's just the first zone play. They're bringing two guys off the same edge, and they're doing it from different sides. So if they're in the pistol, they're coming off this side. You can see when they're in the pistol, they're guessing, they're doing it directionally. A lot of these blitzes, they'll come from the close or the open side. So here, it doesn't look like it's to the back or away from the back. So they did this a lot in 21 personnel. When he was in the pistol, they were tending to bring guys away from the back underneath. But here you kind of got to guess. So they're going to move the front away from the blitz. Or they should. Yeah, they're moving into it. They latch on. They're making them back make a cut. And there's not a lot of room to run. That's, standard fair zone stuff. But what's interesting is when you start running, if you start getting the fullback, what they start doing, and they do a really good job of disguising here, is because the Ravens, along with anybody that runs this stuff, is they'll do things where they'll bring the guy across, they'll leave him on the same side. They're going to do some different things. So what they start doing here is they start bringing two off the edge away from the running back. And they're playing a 50. And they're playing thick. A 50. Sorry, that's old school terminology. But they're playing a 3-4. And they're making. So what they're basically having to do is if they want to run zone this way, right? They're going to have to go here on the combos. He's going to have to step here. And that allows him to get one guy off the edge he's going to come kick out, right? But because the guy is outside of him, he can get underneath it. Then the ball has to spill all the way out. And with these guys playing inside, what ends up happening is they're latching on in here. So the ball has to either go all the way out here or it has to push front side. And the most dangerous zone runs to defend for me is when the ball can hit in different directions when it looks like the same path. That's why the tight front has been such a huge thing because, and you hear people talk about the 4 eyes, 0, 4 eye, is if you're going to run zone against tight, okay, it has to hit all the way out here or it has to cram up in the front side. It's not a play that can hit if you're playing a different front. And I'm an even front guy where it can go, okay, I'm going to go here or I'm going to bend it back one gap. And when you radically change the direction of the ball, it makes these guys' life easier. Again, they can't hang out in here like you could if you were in an even front, right? And again, I'm an even front guy. So you also have to have these 3-4 fronts are great, but you also have to have the guys that can do it. So if you're going to run zone versus this, you can step here. He can cut it back, but it all looks the same. And that's when you get people to bury themselves and get caught in the wash. But watch this coming off the edge. This is freaking beautiful. If I was coaching still, I help people, but if I was actively coaching, I would be showing my players this clip tomorrow. Watch this. And because they're spilling, watch this backer. These guys, they're gonna make the front right because they know where the ball's going. Coaches, I got this question twice last week, and I haven't gotten in a while. How do I change when I'm slanting my defense? How do I get my backers to fit? Okay. The reads don't change, but the fits stay the same. You're telling this guy normally he's a B-gap defender, right? Depending on how you're fitting that nose. You're going to step backside and play this A. You're going to step backside and play if this thing gets creased and be ready to go outside for the quarterback. Watch these backers. They all step together. There. My man here, he has to play downhill because they don't actually go on the double. And so if he steps around this, so he's got to plug this gap, fill open windows, scrape closed doors. So I'm going to start to fit this gap. It opens up. I got to fit inside. If he is down, then I'm going to scrape to the next window. Watch this. He's going to play downhill. But you see what happens. They only single up this guy. It's hard to block. He's in the backfield. Okay? And even if, and I know you're saying, yeah, okay, he beat this guy in the backfield. But that's not the point. The point is, even if you get a perfect block here, this thing is coming underneath and this thing is coming outside. And also, coaches that are in here, if he is on a track like this and this guy turns out, he has to cross face. Or else you're going to open up a bubble. So if Lamar keeps this, so that's called what a lot of people call zone kick, zone slice. I call it peel. Now, look at the slice fit. So this is now, I'm going to bluff the kick out. So you're going to get the same call, same exact formation, same exact route. I'm getting fired up now, Kyle. And jump in. If you have anything to say about any of the players, please jump in. If you got any anecdotes, sure. This is super like low key and kind of it's like I imagine this to be something like, okay, well, Kyle, you call me and say, hey, I love the performance. I didn't get a chance to look at it. Will you break this down for me? And then I'm like just recording us like in like a one-on-one session. So ask questions. Tell me things about the players, whatever, like, because I'm going to get going. I'm going to get going and talk, and so just jump in, please. Cool. All right, so you get the same play, the same exact look. So they actually ran this first, which was interesting. So this is play 6. The last play was play 33, and I mean on defense. So now you have the same exact look, the same exact call, but instead of kicking, okay, they're going to read him. He's going to pull around. Log him inside, and then Lamar's going to keep. Now, normally, if you weren't coming down off the edge outside of it, they would have a play. But check this out. It looks good, right? Lamar's like, I got to pull this. Now, his shoulders are turned. Lamar's able to get outside because he's a freak of nature, and this guy turns his shoulders. But the Dolphins don't have a fighting chance if they don't have, well, they do, but this guy's now sitting at depth, and what would end up having to happen is he now can't knife inside if he's not blitzing, right? If he stays here, he's got to fit outside, so they go here, they go here, they go here, and they're zoning. These two are zoning to that stack, these two are zoning to this stack right here. He's going to kick out. Lamar's going to hand it off. The ball's going to come here. And now this guy's going to have to make a one-on-one tackle, which, you know, that's why you pay those guys, right? But you can see what the blitz does. He has to pull the ball. Again, not a great angle by 29. He turns his shoulders. He should be square on this. But the biggest thing when you have these kickouts, this is old school triple option back to the 1960s. This is a load. This would be called, some people call this a load block. You're blocking the quarterback player, right? Because he's your dive read. So you're actually going to load on him. Well, so he actually has to block him. And I don't know, honestly, why he does. He really should come around, trust this guy's going to tackle the dive, and seal this guy. Or try to log 29. But he ends up trying to kick him out into the play. Again, not a great use of their hands, not turn your shoulders, but that's a bigger gain. Okay, if you don't get that. And if, like I said, Kyle, you have any questions, you have any comments on any of the personnel, please jump in. All right, we got 2 tight ends. Now here's just a zone lead call. They're just running zone lead. I believe we got 2 off the edge again. Now it's to the side of the fullback. It was like the Dolphins, it was almost as if they knew by formation which side to bring it to this guy or away. Because now they're going to come from this side here. And you can see with the slanting, with 92, the Ravens did an awful job of targeting on these slants. This is not a secret. I mean, look at this. You're running zone. Actually, this may be a... No, it's not a bust. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here. This just looks like a disaster waiting to happen.
The 72 stepping right there.
I don't know what the hell's going. Yeah, I think he should be targeting. I mean, if it's zone, right? You're here to here. You're zoning this stack. These guys are going to zone this stack. These guys. Now, with all this out here, what should probably happen schematically is fan out to it with all these guys out here. But I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're doing. 78. Is that Villanueva?
Villanueva's, is left tackle, 78.
He is brutal. All right, we're going to watch. Now, they're going to get into some of their... actually, let's come back. So I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit. So we're going to stay with the 2 off the edge theme. I think 78 just goes the wrong way. Okay, so now we're getting 2 off the edge from away from the fullback. So now they're going to run power read lead. So they're going to read the edge defender. They're going to run power. He comes up field. QB is going to keep it underneath. He sucks down. He's going to hand the stretch lead. Very good play. And they make him hand it off, but with all these bodies in here, the Dolphins do a really good job of forcing them on doubles. And I remember somebody telling me that the secret to this offense was getting in 3-4 fronts and staying on this stuff because it made their gap blocks harder. The Ravens weren't as good. This was a couple years ago. The Ravens weren't as good blocking odd fronts, and you can see it here. They're not getting much movement. I mean, they're doubling this guy, and they're doubling the 4 technique here, the 5 technique here. I think that's Wilkins, and he gets back into the play. I mean, that's not a winning business model.
And Coach, that's been one of the sticking points for Wilkins. He's been awesome this year relative to, he's entering into his 3rd season now, and his biggest issue in his first 2 years was always pad level on double teams. And he gets his eyes up a little bit and he starts trying to shed that block, but he loses his leverage and he kind of gives up some real estate. But he was a man possessed in this football game, and a lot of it was, initial step quickness out of his stance. But this play is a better job of him just kind of leveraging 74 and staying underneath of him. But watching him and Raekwon Davis on the nose, those 2 guys played really big boy football in this game to as you said, not allow that push to spill up into the linebackers. So you're watching 52 and 45 Duke Riley, who really, this was the most prominent role he's had on the defense this year, because it's usually Jerome Baker, but they walked him up outside to play outside linebacker in this game. And those guys were hitting the line of scrimmage with a full head of steam because they were rarely catching offensive linemen with their fills.
Absolutely. Something I just noticed, too, is so far, when they've run these plays, it's out of the same formations. So this is the power read lead. Here's another one. Now, it's interesting, in the last play, they blitzed away from it. And the Ravens, in theory, should have had a play. The Dolphins were short to the front side, but they made it happen. So now you're getting the blitz away. Again, okay, this should be a... But the backside backer is what's making this work. I know it's hard to see. I always like to, even though it's a run play, I like to watch the wide copy just in case. Sam Holman has a question. Did they put the DNs wide at 5 technique, 6 technique for this specific game, or is it just how they usually play? That's a question I can't answer. Maybe, Kyle, you can answer.
Yeah, I haven't seen them shaded too much into 4 eyes. A lot of time they're head up on tackles or shaded to 5s more often than not. So this isn't anything necessarily special that they did in this game. I very rarely see them tucked down in 4s.
Yeah, and the thing I'll say is you don't, versus the Ravens, you don't want to be in 4 eyes because of all their gap scheme stuff. Now watch this backside linebacker. You're bringing all this stuff over here, right? So you got to have these guys playing on the front side and trust that if this ball cuts back, those guys will fill it, and they do. I mean, just watch. This is just fantastic. And I love this right here. You got to get your ass over here, then you can fill inside. The worst thing that can happen is when you're blitzing backside. And this is the hard thing especially for young linebackers. This guy's taught, well, depending on what they teach. I'm not sure about everything they do. But most inside linebackers are, spill. And all of a sudden, okay, we're in this call. You have to get your ass on the front side fast and turn the ball back inside into the pressure. It sounds easy, but when you got young guys, especially because, I have a lot of coaches in here, it's tough. It's tough stuff.
What's interesting, Coach, is 42 for Baltimore is usually such a mismatch type player because they use him at tight end and they love to move him around. And next thing you know, he's lined up in the slot or they're motioning him across the set to kind of pick off kind of that nickel defender or a linebacker that's walked up out there. But I thought they did a nice job, Miami did, of putting 52, Elandon Roberts, who's that linebacker that you were just talking about. Oh, he's at his best between the tackles in a thud roll. And anytime you ask him to do anything beyond that is kind of where you see his limitations as a player. But as you're seeing him get downhill here with all this confidence, but I thought they did a nice job of making sure he was tracking 42 to consistently be working into the teeth of these plays and using him to the best of his abilities and playing such an aggressive style like they did in this game where very rarely you saw him playing backwards.
Yeah. You can see here, too, off the edge again. And all they're doing is, and if you draw where they end up, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the 3 technique to the side of the ball. And all they're basically doing is they're getting to an over front with a Sam linebacker off the edge. But they're using their structures. When you line up like this, you have to target differently. So, for example, if you line up, let's see how they do it. So here's a good example. And I don't know if I would have blocked it like that. Well, you have to. It's counter. If you line up here, you can read the end. And then he's here. They double the 3. Double the 3 to to the backside or whatever. But with the 50, they have to target differently. So he has to come all the way back. And you're giving them the angles. So they're thinking, oh, we want. But this 2 off the edge stuff was what really kills the plays. You've got a vice. So when you play counter, okay, you need somebody outside the first kick out. You need somebody outside the second kick out. And you need a guy inside the second kick out, right? That's what you really need. And they get this here. 24 fits outside the first kick out. 43 actually fits inside the first kick out, which I'm cool with. 52 fits right between, and that's a dead play. I don't know. My man Charles here says the offense is cheesy. I'll tell you what. From a run game perspective, it is a bitch to defend.
Yeah,
I would much rather see almost every other offense in the NFL run game wise than this stuff. All right, here's one more snap.
Well, and it's Coach, it's the layer of a 4-3 athlete at the quarterback position too.
Yeah.
Like you automatically get that extra gap. You have to, and I think that's what's impressive about what Miami did. And you talking about 2 off the same side here, and they're playing on the right side of the line of scrimmage. And you made the point earlier about talking about Brandon Jones, where if you leave him back and he's playing soft instead of rolling up and rolling into the line of scrimmage on this. Trying to make these tackles in space when these guys have momentum coming through the line of scrimmage is a nightmare. So, seeing this in application, everything's on Baltimore's side of the line of scrimmage. And it was to try and bottle it early, right?
I mean, I believe so. And that's what they did. What Baltimore did is they were running the ball on early downs and the Dolphins were winning, and then they were forced into the long yardage when they could run all their stuff. So those are the double edge pressures out of the 3-4 stuff. Now, we're going to watch a lot of the sub-bluff stuff where they're getting in and they're walking everybody up on the line. And we'll get to that in a second. But let's watch them play the run before we get into it, just so you can see, because a lot of people say, well, and I like to do this by concept because I'm teaching the concepts. This isn't just like a game watch. So I kind of wanted to go through this stuff. So you can see a lot of people, when they see everybody walked up, they say, well, we'll just run the ball, get the ball wide, and do some things. And I see your question. We'll get to that in a second. I'll break down all the stuff. I don't know what Cody said, but what they're doing is it's very, very, well, I don't know if it's very, very, very different, but you'll see it. We'll get there. I want to fit up the run stuff first. So they're in their sub stuff now. So they're in sub personnel. Let's just take a look at the end zone. So they've got 3 down linemen in. They're playing what we call Indian here, which really stresses you out in the zone game But with all those guys lined up, they try to run stretch. But what ends up happening is, to be honest with you, the Dolphins secondary is just more physical. And a lot of the stuff that they do, the DBs have to be good at covering, but they got to be physical because they're asking them to press at the point of the attack in the box. They're asking them to tackle in open space. So what makes this play go is now you running outside zone, which this I don't, part of me is, and I get what the Ravens are trying to do here, but get this guy over here to get an extra lead blocker and get on the edge and then cut his ass. Now, maybe Villanueva is not athletic enough, but I don't understand. You're running stretch lock. Who cares about this backside guy? Like, I don't understand that. But by doing all this, what it does, and we've talked about this when we talked about the tilt defense, the 6-1 stuff, which is basically damn near almost what it is you're forcing singles, and you're forcing these guys to reach better athletes who can just play off the blocks. And they can't get to this guy because he's jamming up right here. The thing that drives me the most insane when I'm watching wide plays is defenses where they have a DB here and a DB here, and these guys can just do this, and then they're the ones having to make tackles. If you know they're going to press at the point of attack, watch the edges. They're sort of on the ball. And so people say, oh, we'll run on this. Well, and that's what I love about what the Dolphins do is in this game is they play FU ball, and they force you into a very small menu of plays. Here's another quick fit of power. This is America's favorite blitz. Actually, let's go from the end zone here. This is just double edge. This is like when I'm running the 3-4 and I get my coaching a 3-4 defense for dummies book. People call it saw dog, scissors, whatever. You're just bringing a guy off each edge, 3, cover 3, playing power. But you can see, let's just go to the end zone. You can just see the angles. Now they're heavied up in 4s because they're bringing those edge guys off each side. And just look at, this is you got to block back on a 4 technique. That is not easy. They can't get angles. People ask what lever spill lever means. Let's talk about this. You see this a lot in 3-box defense or 3-man off-ball backer defenses. Lever spill lever means I am forcing the ball inside. I'm going to play inside out to both sides. To your point about Roberts, just letting him go. And then I'm going to play cutback. And they're declaring their gaps. So this is easy. Even though they're in 4s, he's got the B, he's got the edge. I'm basically free. If the ball goes this way, I'm going to play this backside A gap. I'm going to play the C gap. And then I'm basically gap free to both sides. This guy right here is gap free to both sides. Just fit the ball. But you can see the angles. They try to get, and he has to play, because he's a spill player, he's got to play flat underneath this. So this guy's going to kick out. And then they're going to kick here. And then one of these guys, you're +1. One of these guys, and all 45 is trying to do now is beat this guard. This backside guard. Well, you're in a great position to do so. Anyway, all right. So let's talk more about the sub looks here. So this is called bash counter. It's counter with stretch away. It's quarterback counter with stretch away. You can see this. This normally would be a disaster. And they do get some yards on this. This is, 3-4 yard gain. But look at the end zone. The worst thing you can do as a defense, and this is kind of like I don't know if there's a principle or a name for this, but, the problem that defenses have is when they bluff, they don't put enough people up there. So they try to live in both worlds. So, watch the end zone. So, you see, the Vikings, and don't get me wrong, I love Zimmer and his defense, and, but they got a safety back here, and they're bluffed up, and they've got 6 up front here. They've got their 4 underneath, they've got their 1 guy back. But the Dolphins, by bringing up this extra guy, if they can't block everyone, where if you do the bluff with the 6, they still got a chance to get a hat on a hat. Mm-hmm. Now what happens is, they got you by the ass front side, because if you're blitzing, this guy has to box and contain the ball. A box is the same thing as a lever. Most of the time, the word lever is used off the ball, and depending on what coaching tree you're in. But they got it. I mean, look at this. They got the play they want. This guard kicks, this tackle wraps for no one, and he is gone. But the problem is, they have so much shit going. So 8 can play the stretch by himself. That allows 29 to go right off the ass of the pullers. Now, I don't understand why Jalen doesn't chase here. He kind of sits, but he makes the play from the backside. Although he misses the tackle, it forces him to hold up for a second. And the key to the whole thing, and we'll get to this more in a minute, what the Dolphins do, and I'll be honest with you, I've been very aggressive in my time. The older I've gotten, the more the better that offenses have gotten at throwing the football, the less likely I'm playing cover 0. But the thing that makes this whole thing work, okay, is all 4 of these cats have a receiver, but they're staring at the football. And this is something, and this is, I'll tell you this. If you watch this and you're like, I want to do this, you can't just kind of do this sometimes. And we'll get into all that coverage stuff. But that enables them. He's running with pullers. I mean, he can't throw the ball. And they just sit, and attack. And because they're watching the ball, they're able to gain in the fit. And that's the secret to this whole thing. If they were playing press man in here, say they just put 4 corners out here and just played 0 man, and they ran them off, this would have been a touchdown.
Yeah. This was a big time illustration of the improvement that Eric Rowe, who's 21, who's taken on Andrews here in the slot to the play side. His improvement as a player, he came into the league as an outside corner and then kicked inside when he was in New England and played nickel. And when he got to Miami, they transitioned him to strong safety. And his evolution as a player has been all about understanding fits and addressing blockers and how to get off of them. And this was a play that popped to me specifically for Rowe because when we were in 2020 with COVID and all of the stuff was virtual, they had the virtual press conferences. And I asked Eric about, his evolution as a player and transitioning to safety. And he talked about, my entire work this past offseason was getting better at my run fits, understanding where my fits are, and understanding how to deconstruct blocks. And seeing that play right there is a great illustration of what's been kind of 2.5 years in the making for Eric.
Here's the other advantage when you do stuff like this. And this can be feast or famine. I mean, the Dolphins, this is a small sample size. The Dolphins aren't doing this every play. But when it's almost like lining up, think about if you play press corner, right? There's only so many routes that somebody can run if it's press corner. You can get slants, fades, maybe back shoulders, but you're limiting what the offense can do. When you do this, there's only so much shit you can do, right? And these dudes know it. They know what's coming. So it's almost like we're going to take away this, and this. You have 3 or 4 plays that are really good, and then we're just going to work the shit out of these plays. But again, the thing that the Dolphins do, this is the biggest point about this whole thing. They have 8 guys on the line of scrimmage. A lot of people talk about they had 8 guys on the line of scrimmage, and it's bullshit. It's usually not true. If the Dolphins lined up, so this is an 11 personnel formation, you got a tight end here. If the Dolphins lined up and they had a middle safety back here, they can't get 2 off this edge, right? If they block, if they're able to get a double team here, because that's all they need, right? To double at the point of attack, he's out the gate. Now this guy has to make a tackle in space, and that's, is that Hollywood Brown? No, help me out here. 13 is Perriman?
That's Devin Duvernay.
Oh, Duvernay. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know all this shit. But
I'm glad I can help you with something, man.
But what they're able to do is they got a single here, and they lose the edge, but with this guy hauling ass across, he's unblocked. They can't get somebody to him. So they're just chasing. And then 29's able to abort mission. He sees it's fly. These guys aren't going to be able to catch him. And there's no cutback. I mean, here's the thing is, once the ball's handed off, what are they going to do? A reverse? With all these people coming from this side? And so they just freaking, that's That's the key, is they literally have 8 guys on the line of scrimmage. They're able to get away with this. This one I just put on for the lulz, as the kids would say. Watch this shit. Okay, let's just watch the end zone. It's way better. So first I thought this was a false pull, and then I realized no. Watch the guards.
Oh, the old classic double pull.
Oh my God. Kick out the kick out. I gotta watch this one more time. Oh, I don't know if that was designed or not, but Jesus. All right. Let's talk
Coach,
about...
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Absolutely.
So, we go back to the jet sweep that they just ran to Duvernay, and a lot of times, it seemed like Baltimore's answer for so many of these was quick hitting stuff to the perimeter. Because the other thing that you saw them try, they must have tried it 8 times, was these quick perimeter screens outside. And how much of a challenge does it pose whether it's 91 Emmanuel Agba, when they decide that they're going to throw the quick game with the little smoke throw, that aggressiveness to get upfield? There was one play where Agba took a throw away and he had to eat the ball and just not throw it because they were that aggressive on the edge. So this game plan really only works with the full commitment like you talked about, instead of trying to live half in but also have a free safety in the middle of the field. But just that aggressiveness to really shoot up and take away that outside edge stuff, right?
It's really, really interesting. I've never seen a defense this aggressive. Like even the Salina 10-1 defense, which is a famous Salina, Texas. They run the 10-1, and it was literally a gap 8 defense. And they'd line up guys in the A's, the B's, the C's, the D's. They'd have one backer, I think. Or they'd have one safety. They at least had one guy. But that last play. And here's the other thing about the craziest shit about this. Let me find the play real quick. Now, it's a little later in the game, but it's still 9-3. Mm-hmm. It's 2nd and 10. This is the whole game. And to have the balls deluxe to come out here and be like, we're lining up 8 fucking people, and what are you gonna do about it? And they didn't do shit until the end when they backed off because they had the game in hand. It's just insane. That's what it's like. You want to be, you want to be aggressive, and there are weaknesses. There's weaknesses to everything, but you can tell. When you do shit like this, you force the offensive coordinator to cut down his menu to this. Now, it's like the old Buddy Ryan Bear stuff. Here's the thing with the Bear defense. The Bear defense used to kick the shit out of everybody. And every defense has its weakness, but their weaknesses were glaring. Like, holy shit, weak side speed option, 3x1 backside counter. And the holes got so big that they had to adjust. I had Wade Phillips on the podcast last year. We talked about the Jayhawk adjustment. This was Buddy Ryan, who was the most stubborn, we're not changing what we do guy in the planet. And they had to change their bear because when you got in 3x1, 11 personnel, you can run weak side counter and you get a 6-1 defense. And if one of those guys, you don't take both pullers out, one guy gets the backers, there's literally nobody there. And Wade's like, let's play a 5-2 instead. But these guys, especially in this style of offense, what can you do? Yeah, you could huck balls up over the top, but that's the key is these guys make the whole thing go. You got to win
That's what they tried to do. It was either the end of the first or second possession. That was the answer, was to try and throw the ball up over the top to Sammy Watkins. And Watkins kind of laid off a throw that was probably in play, but they missed that throw early on, and it seemed like they did it once and didn't hit it, and they were like, okay, now we're just going to try and hit quick stuff outside.
Well, and the other thing is, a fade is a low percentage throw. A fade's a really low percentage throw when I know that's all you can do is throw slades and slants.
Right.
Literally, what are these guys going to do? They're going to throw a smoke. There's some things that you can do, but These guys, here's the secret. These guys right here, and we could talk all we want about 4-4s and time and all this. They kick the ever-living shit out of these guys all fucking game. And yeah, they got some throws at the end when they were up and the game was basically over. And they played soft. And like last week, we watched the Broncos absolutely dismember the Cowboys. And then they scored 16 late because it was like, all right, we're up 30-0 with 5 minutes left. Like, well, who gives a shit? You know, they don't care. They don't care about that shit. Just get the W and get out of there. But when I'm sitting back here and I'm keying the quarterback, and I know that he don't have time to do whip routes and stuff. You got to throw a hitch, a slant, a speed out, a fade. And that's why the Belichick guys invest in these cats and not these cats. I mean, to a degree. And so...
Yeah, and I think Miami has the most money of any team in the NFL invested in the secondary this year, as far as cash that they're paying out this year.
If the Chiefs tried this shit, there'd be a guy in the end zone with like the NASCAR flags, welcome home. Like they'd have to replace the light bulbs on the scoreboard at halftime. But that's the thing is, and you basically just give them the middle finger and say, you know what? What are you gonna do about it? And it's what's so impressive and would just create. Yeah, you can throw bubbles too. Yeah, that's the thing is, throw a bubble. And okay, so let's watch this. Okay, here we go. Let's throw bubbles. 3rd and 10, first quarter.
You put it up for us, Coach?
Yep. So this is what I love. Okay, it's 3rd and 10. And that's the other thing is Miami figured out the Ravens' hots. And so it's 3rd and 10 all game, and they're throwing flares and bubbles. And then they tackle them. It's 4th and 8. You got to punt. You know what I mean? And so watch this. So here we go. And you're going to see it play after play after play after play. So here you go. 3rd and 10. 3rd and 9. Okay. Everybody's walked up. Oh shit. Let's move. Oh, let's get Hollywood Brown on the screen. The problem is these cats here are soft as baby shit. Sammy Watkins is soft. I know he's not out there right now, but he's another one. Okay, so now you force this guy right here. He can go right there. Okay, I'm going to plow a few yards ahead. 4th and 3 punt. Okay, here's another one. 3rd and 10. We're in the second quarter now. 3rd and 10. All right, guys. Let's motion the back out and throw it to the back. Okay, cool.
And Holland coming all the way across. That's awesome.
Punt team alert. Here's another one. 3rd and 10. Now we're in the end of the second, or midway to the end of the second quarter. Oh, they're doing all their protection checks and all this crap. All right, let's throw a hitch screen or smoke screen. Okay, cool. Tackle, 3-yard gain, punt team.
27 there, Justin Coleman. See, he's daring that wide receiver.
Yeah.
To have anything to do with him, and he says, nope.
Yeah,
he blows it
soft. All right, here's my favorite. 3rd and 5. All right, we've run out of ideas. It's the 3rd quarter. Let's run speed option. All right, cool.
This is a great play by Baker.
Away from the blitz. All right, let's go to speed option. All right, cool. Up, 2-yard gain, punt team alert. I mean, that's the thing is what's so insane about it. Here's another one. 3rd and 10, 4th quarter. All right, we're going to motion to empty. All right, cool. Let's throw the slant. Oh, he drops it. Even if he catches that, he catches it right there. My money is, and I'm not a betting man, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards to go, and they have 5 people on 1. So I mean, that's the maddening thing about it is, it's just a nightmare because if you can do it, it's a nightmare. Because what can you do? I guess you could throw the ball outside, but who on the Ravens is going to win a jump ball against one of the corners from the Dolphins? Like who? You know what I mean? Like Hollywood Brown's 5'9"? I mean, these guys are small.
And you got Howard and Byron Jones outside.
Yeah.
And they're playing with cushion, so they're gonna see this develop. And Eyes in the backfield was the number one key to the game as far as Miami just, and the fact that they played as aggressive as they did it's unbelievable. Has just really been amazing to watch.
Like I've never, I mean, and they may have done this. I'm not saying this is the first time this has ever happened or whatever. This is the first time I have seen it like this, and it's unbelievable. My jaw was on the floor the whole night, like, because I kept expecting them to be like, and I know I cherry picked the plays. Well, there were only 75 plays, and I got 43 of them loaded. So it's not like, I mean, I got 60% of the plays or so up. So let's watch. Okay, so let's watch the coverage first. All these guys are trying to do that are dropping are getting the quick throwing lanes. Now, here's the play you talked about. They had Sammy, he overthrows it.
Yep.
But why does he overthrow it? Because he has a dude coming right in his face. Oh, pause. He has a dude right in his face. So this is what they're doing. Okay, this is an old concept, but it's great. I don't know, and I have them figured out. I don't have them all the way figured out, the rules, so I'm going to kind of theorize here. When I have the rules, I'll post a clip or something, all of them. So what they're going to do is there's only so many ways you can protect. So they're trying to 7-man protect, and let's get some one-on-one shots, right? But here's the problem with the Dolphins. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're always +1. And you're always going to be wrong unless you do some Superman bullshit. So right now, the offensive line is sliding left. Okay? So what they're going to do is they're putting 33 in the back. They're sliding. They've got 4 guys against 5 threats. Okay? And they're green dogging the fullback, meaning they got Rowe on the fullback saying, hey, listen, if he blocks, go, so he can't pick him up. And if he fans wide like this, you take him and you go.
Yeah.
And then the certain guys on the line. Okay, certain guys on, because why did he pull up? He's soft. Certain guys in the line are told, hey, if you get the slide 2, you drop. So these 2 guys are probably playing a game right here, and they kind of know because usually the center goes away from the back. Also, here's the other advantage, and this is why you got to watch pre-snap communication. 77 is pointing to the left. They bring over the fullback. They're like, "Hey, man, can you take him?" All right, cool. And the center's head is pointed that way. I mean, you know what side he's going to go to, right? So he drops. They're just trying to get in slant windows. But you have to eat this 40. You have to eat 42 up so he can't block the edge. You always say, let the widest guy go. So yeah, it's a good throw, I guess. Look where the ball lands. I mean, what's the margin for error? And yeah, it's an amazing throw with a guy in his face unblocked. But that's the point is, he made this amazing throw with a guy coming unblocked in his face. Okay? Is he able to make it better if he's got a clean pocket? Yeah. Maybe he gets it a touch shorter, but look, he makes this throw and he's having to move away from it. And here's the thing is, guys screw up when they bring guys off the edge and then bail too many people, because then he can step up in the pocket. But everybody's staring at his ass. Where's he going to go? Where's he going to escape to? Through here where this guy is? Through here where these 2 guys can get? I mean, there's nowhere to go. And now what you're doing is, your answer is, I'm going to throw jump balls to Sammy Watkins off my back foot. That's your answer. Okay. All right, here's the 3rd down throw we already watched, the short throw. Now, one of the things you can do to combat this is to throw sprint out. Sorry, getting a little trigger happy with my remote. I'm getting excited. So pretty much what they did is this. So let me break down the end zone real quick. All right. And I didn't have time, and a lot of it is, it's all bullshit. It's not all bullshit, but it's random as hell. Okay? And they teach this, because I know this is how they teach it in New England, and I know this is how they teach it out of their Joker package and their Viking package and all this other crap. So I know this to be true. It's all X's on a chalkboard. So they have a bunch of different names. I know one of the names they have is Bengal, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But it's basically, you're going to put X's on a chalkboard. You're going to have an extra guy off the edge to the back. So you have a DB. So what's the next thing? We're going to run it swing. Okay. And that's the other thing. Another bonus about having all these people up there is you can't throw an angle route, like a Texas or whatever where you go here, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to run right into the guy. And you never know when everybody's going to come and when everybody's going to drop. So they're just trying to eat people and then they'll drop. But with sprint out, there's no point really dropping a whole lot because you're not going to get in any throwing windows because the ball is going to be thrown out on the perimeter. Nobody throws the ball over the middle. They throw it out to the perimeter or they sprint out and throw it back. Okay? So they're just going to try to run and flow to the ball. So this is a good answer. But again, if you're in the NFL and you're throwing sprint out, okay, you've limited what you can do. You've cut half the field off. Well, if I know as a defensive coordinator, I want to watch the wide copy of this, I can line up a certain way and I only have to defend half the field. I mean, why would I not do that? You know what I mean?
But again, there's not really a vertical threat either, right?
Right. The verticals are all clear out. So you're getting the snag 7 flat, but so you've got this, you've got this, you have this. They've just exchanged who's doing what between 2 and 3. And these guys are all banjoing. So he's going to take the first outside and vertical. He's going to take the second inside vertical, and he'll take whatever comes inside. So you can see him play it out here. This is beautiful. So the best way to beat that is to send 2 people in the same direction. But again, you've now got a 4-yard gain. It's now 3rd and 6. So you can't run the ball. You can only take shots deep, which again, those are low percentage throws. And yeah, they hit one of them later in the game, but it was already too late. All right, so now here's 2 away from the back. So all they did, it looks really complicated, but it's really not. They lined up a bunch of people in here, okay? They lined up 2 guys either off the edge of the back or away from the back. That's it. I mean, I hate to say, like, be overly reductive, but, I mean, that's what they did. And you can see here, if you get fanned to you, so what they decided to do here is switch up the protections is they're going to full gap protect this way, get this guy off the edge. Thank God, and I think what they're doing is, and I don't know this to be certain, I could be totally wrong. There may be some O-line guy watching being like, oh, Huddle, come on now, let me erase. Don't do this to me. Well, that's not what they're doing. But I'm guessing he sees the 2 blitzers over here. And he's like, all right, if we full slide this way, this guy's going to have to take this. So I can get this blocked up. And then what ends up happening is when this guy drops, they're now able, and this edge blitzer does a really good job. So it's an X blitz. So this is what you teach, and you can mix and match this. Okay, I'm gonna go back on camera for a second, just so I can stall and I can reload this because I don't want to be stuck where I can't eliminate my drawings because it's torture. I'm vamping. I'm getting better at this. I'm vamping. See, what do you mean this item's no longer shared with you? What are you talking about? I literally made this item. What are you talking about? Don't leave me, guys. All right, here we go. Back to the screen. All right. So when you teach this off the edge, right? Hopefully, let me erase. Come on. Yeah, all right. We're good. Okay. So, you teach a couple pass off the edge, and you can always exchange them. So again, these are X's on a chalkboard, right? Everybody learns all the different spots, and then you only run a few things, and then you give it a million different looks. It's like the West Coast offense. You run a few plays out of a million looks, and you confuse the offense because they're going to declare protections based on different things, okay? So what you want to do is you want to have 2 off the edge, okay? If he is down, then I'm going to flatten out and spill, and I'm going to come off the edge so we don't run into each other. If they fan to me, I'm now going to come inside, and I'm going to stay outside, right? Well, they're just exchanging it. So he sets, we call this an X game, where he would do this and do that. They actually do a good job of picking this up, and this is really the only way you can really pick this up. But if they don't drop, because they're only protecting with 5, they don't drop.
And then it's a free runner through the B gap.
They get a sack by my man from the U. Let's watch the wide copy. Now, this is not a perfect thing. Believe me, I'm not sitting here. I'm getting juiced up because I'm a defensive guy and I don't give a shit. All you offensive nerds out there watching is like, well, I could just do this. Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Just kidding. Not really. Okay, now you're going to see guys wide ass open. But here's the thing. You don't see them. Because, yes, you can see at the end of this play, oh my God, this guy's wide open. How's he going to throw it to him? Because they take away the hot throw. Right now, he's in that window. And I know Jordan's in here, and Jordan's like, well, he could have thrown it in there. Jordan's my man. Jordan comes to all this stuff. He's super fired up. But he and I give him a hard time because he's like, oh, he could fit that in there. And I'm like, dude, I hate quarterbacks as much as anybody, and I don't even know if they could do that. But watch this. You've taken away the mesh. By the time it comes open, he's done. He's sacked. And
it's a credit to the dropper, right? Because Agba kind of drops into, if he were to have had any chance to hit that, Agba dropping 91 right there on the 30 is like, once Lamar's forced off his spot and he has any chance to hit it, that window's now closed because that angle's just too steep. It's moving away from his momentum once he's forced to reset his platform and slide left. Just that's the credit to the droppers, right?
Absolutely. And here's the thing is people say, well, why didn't you just throw this mesh? And I hate spot dropping coverage. If you've ever hung out with me and talked defense for more than 10 minutes, you're really going to hear me talk about how I hate spot dropping. But this is where I like spot dropping. If you're bringing pressure, because the reason that Agba sinks back here instead of, because they could have passed this mesh off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Agba works back to his right, the offense left, because Lamar's looking this way. Lamar has nowhere to go with the ball. They have covered. They're bringing a maximum people with a guy who's unblocked. Really, if they don't drop, he's unblocked. They're creating all sorts of havoc. He's forced to hold the ball, and he gets sacked. Oh, Jordan, I got a memory like the Taliban, brother. I don't forget. All right. We watched, this is another third down delight where they just throw it. I kind of skipped around. All right, here's another 7-man. I call it 7-man pressure. I don't think it was. Yeah. So Samuel Holman asked, Doug Farr wrote an article this season about tying the fronts to the coverage. This would be an example, right? The front pressure covers up the weakness in the coverage. Absolutely. If you don't bring pressure, like if you tried to do this and drop 8, it would be over. This all ties together. This all works together. So you're getting the same thing. Let's watch the wide. So I'm going to watch the wide copy for the pass concepts, and then we'll go. So this is kind of what we'll do. We'll watch the route distribution, everything on the wide. Then we get to the end zone. I'll talk protection. Because everybody, a lot of times you can't do that because you bring people from outside the picture. But when they're lining up everybody like this, we can save that part. But again, they're throwing. I mean, look what he's forced to throw. I think this is the play where no, this is the one you were talking about, wasn't it? Where Agba, but no, there's another one where he bats it down.
No, there's another one, and there's one where Lamar he fully chokes the throw. He ends up getting sacked on the play. But like they didn't send anybody else out to that side of the field. It was literally just like a bubble.
Oh, come on now. Don't do this to me. Not live on air. So the offense is going to half slide away from the running back. They can't pick
it felt
up.
Like they tried everything in protection. Like it felt like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt, whether it was four-man slide, full slide, max protect, like they tried everything under the sun to try and get something to buy just a little bit of time here.
Mm-hmm. And I'll do in the off season, because I have all the breakdown of the 2020 Dolphins. I know nobody wants to watch last year's Dolphins while the season's going on. So maybe you and I can get together in February, March when everybody. Well, you're going to be in draft mode, but maybe I can steal you for an evening.
I will make time for that. I'll tell you that.
We'll do a breakdown where we can really get into how everything connects, and you can see like how different teams attacked it. Because that's the one downside of doing this kind of series is that's why I have people like you, because I haven't watched the Dolphins at all this year. So when people are like, "Well, is this a departure from what they normally do?" I'm like, I don't know, but you know what I mean? But we can kind of go through and see how each team does it. But you literally can't do anything. I mean, here's what you can do. The only way that you can block this shit is you let this guy away. You slide. And they did this. You saw them do this. You slide this way. You let this guy go. And you get the ball out fast, which is a really good example. And Jordan kind of touched on that. just get the ball out. But if it's 3rd and 10 and you're throwing a swing to a guy who's 6 yards deep, and I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm like, I win. Now, where does the math change? Stick a healthy, I was about to say Randy Moss, but he's not been playing. I need to update my references. Stick a healthy Michael Thomas or a bigger guy that can, because you're not going to outrun Howard, right? I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe Tyreek could get past him. I don't know. But, and I have the Chiefs game from last year. I can watch it. But there's very few people that can win those one-on-one matchups. So how do teams do that is they spread you out, they go empty. But again, if my plan to win this game is to go empty, if that's my plan, right? And I'm going to sit here and go, all right, the way we're going to win this game is we're going to go empty. Well, you're stuck. And that's what I want. The hardest offense to defend, and that's what the Dolphins, and we're not really even talking about this, the Dolphins forced the Ravens. They couldn't run the football. They said they got everybody on the line, and they said, F you, run the ball. And then so what does everybody do? And people say, well, bring in more protectors. Well, that's the whole thing is every guy you add back in here, I get to add another rusher.
Right.
You could 9-man protect. Like we did.
If I got 10.
I mean, here's what we did, and this is where you screw teams then. If you start adding people in the backfield to block. So I coached with a guy named Rick Rasnick, rest in peace, he was the OC at San Jose State in the 80s when San Jose State and Fresno State were ranked. They had game of the year. I think it was this SI game of the year one year. It was San Jose State and Fresno State. And then he was the OC for Utah when they had Dirty Bird, Jamal Anderson.
Yep.
And they were OG spread team, running zone in 1985. He learned from Dennis Erickson. I mean, they were cutting edge. But we had a package. We coached together at Los Altos High School. He got out of the business and was selling insurance. I guess that's what happens when being the head coach of Eastern Michigan will do to you. But we got in 22 personnel and ran a one-man. We ran the old post corner, and we had a bunch of Mississippis. But then if that's the case, then you drop 7, and you're forcing people into a corner, and that is what's so beautiful about this is. And it takes balls because a lot of people are okay, we're going to try to defend everything. And then the offense is dictating. Now, again, you have to have the personnel. If you took the Washington football team and you did this, they would be getting their ass blown out every week, not just some of the weeks. You have to have the personnel. Thank you, Peep the Film. Yeah, I pretty much decided. I don't want to jinx it because somebody was in the third quarter, you got to do the Dolphins. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't want to say this and then get a comeback. So I'm
right.
But as soon as it was over, and the thing was, I saw the Seahawks-Packers score, and I was like, oh, God. But I've done the Vic Fangio stuff a bunch. And maybe, like I said, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll head up Justice after this, and we'll talk some shit tomorrow. But anyway, let's go back to the film.
But Coach, to your point, this is kind of them having the dudes to make this work. This was really the first time all season long that they've played with that double bird mentality that says, hey, we're going to dictate the pace of play to you, and we're going to dictate what your menu is that you have to work with. And that went back to when we first talked at the very beginning. It felt like from a communications perspective, you even going back to the preseason, Javon Holland popped. But when he's in, there were miscommunications on the back end and there were too many free runners. So that first month, 6 weeks of the season, either he wasn't playing or he was, they were playing a lot more vanilla stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'd be really fascinated. I mean, they got Jets, Panthers, Giants, Jets, their next 4. And, if they feel really good about what they have and everybody being on the same page now, I would expect this to continue to happen week in and week out and make somebody beat you out of it.
The ball, I'm honestly blown away, and maybe it's just being desensitized to or not being desensitized is the wrong word probably for the situation, but so used to the 4-man and the creepers and the simulators, and you can't play cover 0 anymore. And I was bringing 4 from the side even when people were getting away from it. And even I was like, ugh. The balls. They won't. Very few snaps do they line up and bail everybody out. It is we are coming, and if there's there's a psychological thing about that when you're on the other side of the ball. Because I've been on the other side. I coached offense for a year, and I've helped guys out. But when teams are doing this, there's something psychological about it, because it's like playing across from a poker player that is constantly saying, I know what you have. I know what you got. And you know in your head, and I'm no poker player, so I may be wading into waters I don't know, but you're sitting there and they're like, I know what you have in your hand. You can't bluff me. And you're sitting there going, there's no way he knows. There's nothing in this world that would give away. And they're sitting there going, I know what you have. And you're like, no. And you start to
eventually you start getting a little,
it's almost like, then it starts to get in your head. And instead of reacting to them and sitting back on your haunches, you set the tone. But again, not everybody can do this. Not everybody has the stones for this, because like anything, if this shit sucks, if this plan doesn't work, you're going to get roasted. And that's where you have to be comfortable in your own skin and do this. But I mean, this is just, are we having technical difficulties now? I mean, there's just free runners, and it all has to be short, or you just got to huck it deep. And here's the other thing. At least on the short throws, when they're off, they're not going to intercept you. But on these deep passes, now you got to worry about them. They're in a better position to throw these fade balls. This is my favorite. Oh, we watched this already, but I'm going to watch it again. Speed option. This is just, because this is, Greg Roman is now in the part of his game plan where it's like, all right, what do I do versus this shit?
Shit, what else do I have?
Not that they surprised him, because I know they have it in them. So they're matching up here. You can see Holland running across. I don't know, Jordan. You have your job to lose. Nothing to lose. Nothing to lose is when you're in high school and you're not going to get fired. You suck too bad, you might get your shit canned. So, all right. So here's just they're faking a stretch. They're throwing a back.
This is the one he choked. This is the one that I was telling you where he literally has to eat the ball because Agba gets so far upfield.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I don't understand about this play design. And this is where, people might get on Lamar for this, but this is what irritates me about the NFL. Okay. And where it makes me feel sympathetic to people who are like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, and then it's like, it's you don't know what you're doing, not because you don't know football. It's because they don't know what they're doing, and they're confusing you because they're confused. Like, this is high school. I watched the JV team install this. You go block 1, you go block 2. Jesus, it's already laid out for you. That's the thing about the Dolphins defense, them being all walked up here. The picture is clean. It couldn't be. Mark should be 1 and stepping and blocking. The tackle should be bam here and stepping and blocking. But the problem is, because they have all these rushers right now, like, he's not even ready for the ball. So, yeah, Agba's in his way, but he could sidearm this out and get this out. But this guy's not ready for the ball. Like, you're not faking anybody. Just turn around. And this is where I think this is a shitty play design. Just turn around right now.
And Andrew spends way too much time eyeing too.
Yeah, what are you
right? Like, his head's not even on the perimeter right now.
And I get you, Christian. I get your point, but watch this right now. He could rip that. If Watkins turns around, he gets that ball. It keeps pausing, and let me delete this shit. Right here. If he's looking, he can turn and fire that right now. But this asshole's like, I'm gonna fake this guy. Why do you care about faking him? What are you gonna run in and go with the? Because I know what they're trying to do. You come here and then he runs a wheel with you're gonna run an and go on screen with Andrews, with fucking 8 people up your ass. Like, that's where I'm just like, you're outsmarting yourself. Rip the ball out there, and this is what happens. So people will look at this play and be like, oh, Lamar hesitated. Yeah, he's not even looking for the ball. You know what I mean? And now it's 3rd and 15 or whatever. So, Pete, I did talk about this. Next time we see a drop back pass, I'll talk about how they get the free runners and then the windows for you guys that missed. All right, so I believe this is the next play. It is the next play. So play 35. So now you can't throw a screen. You just threw a screen. I mean, yes, you could throw back-to-back screens. I love this. They're pointing. He's pointing like he's blitzing. 89 down here. Yeah, no shit. He's been blitzing all game.
He blitzed 21 times in this football game.
Yeah.
21 blitzes.
So this is actually really good. So they're coming away from the back. So they bring him across. They get slide protection. Some people call this YT protection. What you do. So this is interesting. Okay. They're sliding to the back this way, and then they're bringing the back and the tight end or fullback away to block the edge, which is an interesting look. It's not something that's done very much out of that because, I don't know, people just don't do it. But this is the best part. And here's the other thing about the Dolphins that hurt, that how they do this and why they do this. Okay, I know it's 3rd and 15, but usually when you play zero, what does everybody do? They press, right? Or they have a guy up and a guy off. So what do the Ravens do? They bunch together, and I know they're not doing this for this purpose, but I'm talking about traditional defenses that play cover zero. You get together so you can create rubs and picks, right? That's the way to beat man coverage, right? Mm-hmm. Well, how do you rub and pick when they're off at 8 yards? You know what I mean? You've just made their job easier. If you want to beat them, get them on islands and win one-on-one. You can't win one-on-one in here because you're standing next to each other. So no matter how bad this guy gets beat, this guy's right next to him. Like, that's the thing that I was kind of amazed about. They're trying to isolate. They're trying to throw an underneath route. Now, they get a free runner. They throw a deep pass, but it's a 50-50 jump ball. I know, shitty. It's not shitty camera work. That's what the cameraman's trained to do, but, you know, it's hard. But, and here's the thing with Lamar, and you can talk about, I mean, Lamar is amazing. But he's got to be thinking in his head, somebody's going to come free. The way they've been doing this all night. Somebody's going to come scot-ass free, and I'm going to have to evade a rusher. Just that thought, just the fact he has to think that, means he's thinking about you, not about him. Well, he is thinking about him, and he's not getting his teeth knocked in. So, Peep, I'll go over this again, and I probably should do this more, about the slide. They're having, and I don't know exactly, I'll figure out the rules. I think it changes by calls. They want to balance out the rush. So they're trying to overload. Actually, no, they're not trying. They're trying to overload a side. So to the side of the slant, I believe what I've been seeing a lot is these two will drop. This guy will keep off the edge just so he keeps the contain. And then they're just trying to get two off the edge to the side of the blitz. And this was what drives me insane. I don't understand this.
This could be blocked up here.
Inside threat, outside threat. Well, this is the thing is you have this idiot, which I shouldn't say that. But,
well, not anymore. Not anymore. He was cut today.
Le'Veon Bell?
Yes.
Oh, well, this is probably why. Now, yeah, okay, so you make that play, but again, you're throwing jump balls to a guy who's 5'9". That could have been blocked, and that's actually a really good idea. Even still, I mean, that's amazing. And so people that get mad at Lamar in this, it's like, what do you want him to do?
This is kind of the perfect counter to what you were talking about with the rules, where they're trying to influence what way you slide and then drop out of it to get +1 to the backside. So if you push your extra bodies in the backfield away from the slide and you get more than one of them to do it, this is kind of the perfect counter call in protection, assuming you block it up right.
Right. And you're having to throw those home run balls. Yeah, I mean, it's... Now, here's actually a completion. So this is the next third down. So the center's pointing. You can see it. He's pointing over here. So now they're in... They call this front... No, never mind. I'm sorry. This is not that front. I think this is still the Bengal package. Look at everybody drop out. So this is really good eye manipulation. This is really good by Lamar. Okay? You know those underneath droppers are getting in those windows. So you see the center, he's pointing which way he's going to go. And you could see him pointing, saying, hey, they're sliding this way, they're sliding this way. Watch everybody drop. He gets him just for... Watch his head turn. Let's see if I can get a slow-mo on this. Okay? He looks right, gets him, and then gets right back to his left, throws the slant in the window, first down. Great play. Mm-hmm. But again, okay, I can't stress this enough. This is the only thing that they've done all night. So now what do you think is going to happen? They hit this once, they get a third down. They hit it twice, they get another third down. Then the next time this happens, they drop everybody out here. You know what I mean? Like that, they're forcing you into a corner.
Well, and Coach, one of the times, early third quarter, they hit this, and Xavier Howard punches the ball out on the slant, and they run it back for a touchdown.
Exactly. And then the other thing is, all this fancy, and this is why I started off with it, and I know some of y'all were like, we had comments in the chat, it's 13 minutes, we haven't even watched any film yet. Or, why are we watching the run fits first? Because none of this shit happens if they don't win first down. None of it. If it's 3rd and 2 all game,
you can't even get into this.
This is not happening. So you got to set the groundwork, not only the groundwork for it, but show how they got there. All right. Here's the sack. I think this is the next 3rd down. So they get the completion. So to this point, and I have these plays picked. So this play, 2 plays ago with the free runner, we hucked the ball down the field. Then they hit the slant on the next 3rd down. This play right here. Okay, now the next 3rd down. Let's see what they do. It's kind of cool that it's in order. So now it's 3rd and 16. So something bad happened on 1st and 2nd down. So what are they going to do now? Okay. They're sliding. Now Le'Veon's coming across to block this. But again, now they're in those throwing wind lanes. Now, again, so Lamar easily, this is wide open. It's 3rd and 16. So go ahead and throw this ball. Force him out of bounds. Sammy sideline, never missed a tackle, and punt team. So now he's on the perimeter. I said this was a sack. It's not a sack. It's actually a scramble. He gets 2 yards. Punt alert.
How about this hustle from 15 on this play? Look how much ground Phillips covers to close down and chase him down on this. Because he pushes to the left initially.
Also, it's just a little thing. If we got any running back coaches in here, don't have your back. Look at his. I can see the damn eye of the Raven in here.
Yeah, do you wonder what way he's stepping here?
Yeah, which way? I wonder which way he's going. Pete, they don't do a lot of split flow with the Y out. They're because it's all 3rd down shit. It's not on 1st down, so they don't have to worry about like boot with the guy coming back across. And they don't peel much. They peel a couple times, but they don't do a lot of it because here the thing with peeling and all that stuff is great if you're only bringing 6. But if you're bringing 7, you're still short a guy. So what Peel's asking is, Peep the film. Like say this guy's not here. We talked about this earlier. You could gap this way, let this guy go, and then swing the back. So they do that a couple times. But the problem is they got to throw the swings because the corners are off. And it's 3rd and 10. It was one of the first couple clips we watched on 3rd down. I think it's, if you rewatch the video, it's about 46 minutes into the broadcast. You can see that, and you'll see where they're chucking the ball down, but it's 3rd and 10. They tackle it for a 4-yard gain. Now this you can't teach 15.
Holy cow, man!
Yeah.
This is the one thing he's done tremendously well all season long. The effectiveness in his rush and his framing and the violence in his hands to really discard blocks and get loose and finish when he gets penetration. That's all a work in progress. But Jalen Phillips has played his ass off every single play he has played all season long. He gets outside the hashes here and runs Lamar down for a 2-yard gain going away, giving up probably 5 yards of leverage by the time he gets on the hoof.
It's awesome. Now, this is what I don't understand, and I'm just a simple man. I'm just a former high school and small college football coach, and I was a gopher at 2 D1 programs. I'm a nobody. I don't have any answers. If I did, I don't know. I wouldn't be doing this. I'm not saying I don't have all the answers, but I don't understand when it is. Let's check it's 2nd and 9. 2 minutes left in the 3rd. Still 9-3, I believe. Let me check the score again. Yeah, 6-3. Okay. So you got a team who's playing off everything, and I get the concept of trying to get a guy across, but they're bringing 7 people. You don't have time for that. It's like the wave or the Yankee play and all that. happy horse shit. We got a huddle issue. But you don't have time for that. Why would you bring everybody down inside? Because now it gums up your hots.
Now one dropper can take 2 throwing windows if they're overlapping across the middle, right?
This shit drives me insane. I'm gonna reload huddle, so I'm gonna go back to camera and vamp. I'm becoming a real pro at this. I guess it's a lot easier when I don't have to mute myself every time you're talking. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, you only gotta worry about one thing. It's
I'm already dog shit at this stuff, let alone having to mute myself when somebody else is talking. But that's what's so crazy about this is you're bunching everybody up. Like, get people out of there. It's insane. Now let's watch the end zone. Now what's interesting, and I got to do a deeper dive. Again, I said this at the top of the show. Like, I'm a hired gun this week, so I'm in film breakdown mode. I wanted to do this, but usually I'm like, okay, this is exactly what's happening. I didn't have the time for all that. So, but I wanted to get in here and talk. So I don't exactly know the rules, because there are some where if the guy is coming at you, they're still coming. So it's not like the old TCU. So TCU had this play. It was called Whack It for empty. And it was clear. So you had, okay, so this guy doesn't exist. This guy doesn't exist. This guy doesn't exist. It's empty, right?
Can you throw it up for us, Coach?
Yep. I knew I was going to. Thank you.
That's
good. The other reason I need a co-host is
hey, I'm learning along with everybody else here.
See, I get fired up. So, sorry, I screwed up the whole drawing. These X's, these people don't exist. So it's these 5 and these 6 right here. And then what would happen is, see if I can erase this, is I rush the tackle. So let's just focus on 2 people. Okay? If I rush this guy, he goes and I pop. On this side, if he fans, so if we have an end, I wish I had a pen and not a trackpad, then I go and I drop. But that's everybody. It's a read. And then these 2 guys in here read the center. But they're still sending people even if they block me. So only certain people are dropping. And I was going to say it's the down linemen that go, but I don't think it is. Because I've seen 70, which helped me out. Who's 70 again?
Adam Butler. He came over from New England this
from the
past
Patriots.
offseason. Yes. He was one of their he's one of their better signings in free agency this offseason.
Yeah, I did a big 5-0 self promotion. I did a 5-0 package breakdown of Flores and Belichick. The 2018, it's actually 2 parts. The 2018 playoff run when they played the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Super Bowl against the Rams, and he was a huge part of what they did. Mm-hmm. I think he was the nose in all their on front like third down stuff.
Yes,
but they're dropping. Yeah, you see, they're dropping. So what I've seen so far is it's these 2 that are dropping. And this guy is going. Now, they've been sliding to the blitz. And they know that with everybody walked up because that's the only way they can pick it up. So you don't want to predetermine it because you don't want to be wrong. You always want to be right. Like, you always want to have that option. But these guys pretty much know, like, I'm going to be dropping. I'm going to be dropping. Unless something crazy happens. So, and I've said this before, but when you're teaching this shit, for the coaches on here that are like, I want to teach some of this stuff because it's pretty easy to teach. When me and you are talking, if you call me and you say, hey, I want to install this, I would say, well, if he's going to do this, he does this. If he's going to do this, he does that. So you're teaching or rules. You never want to teach it to the kids like that. You want to say, you're going to go unless. You're going to go unless. Instead of, if he gets you, you drop. If he goes away, you go. They'll be tentative. So you're going to be like, here's what goes. Unless this happens, then you do this. It sounds like semantics, and it is, but it is so huge. And here's why you build this in. Because if they decide to be like, well, hey, let's say they were dropping to the side of the slide where everybody was walked up. The worst feeling as a coach is you double mug, and you're wanting to get that back to step up and protect, and then you bail both these guys out. The nickel comes, and the back doesn't even look inside. He just blocks the edge before you even bail. That sucks. And I've been in that position. I outsmarted myself. If I had just brought one of those guys, I've been scot-free. but they can't. And then they got their best athlete. Here's the other thing about overloading this stuff and why so much of this is key. And the key is, and I'll say this again, the key is they are showing 7. Oh, come on, Huddle. Please don't do this to me now. Don't hang me out to dry. They're showing 7. If this was 6 guys up and this was a D end, you could say, all right, let's get, and I know over here with where Bell is, hey, listen, we got a D end or an outside backer on a running back. But some of the plays where 8's the edge rusher, that's a safety on a running back. And because of all the bodies in here, like I talked about earlier, you can't run these angled route bullshit. You can't do it. There's no space. So you're having
Coach,
to
I think
run.
that. Go ahead. Finish. I was just going to say, I think that's an important note, too, with one of the big deviations that Miami did do in this football game was putting Jerome Baker as an end man of line of scrimmage outside linebacker. You know, even in the first down stuff, you know, when they were in the 3-4 defense. So either, I mean, they're 2 end men on line of scrimmage here, those 2 safeties that we talked about, Brandon Jones, 29, and Javon Holland. So you've got your best coverage options against the backs are consistently safeties with a lot of these looks. But even when they were in their base, quote unquote, base defense, it was still, you know, they took an off-ball linebacker and played him in a non-traditional role specifically for this football game.
Absolutely. Guys, how's the echo? Are we getting any echo tonight? Did I finally fix the problem? I think I may have fixed the problem. It was just wear AirPods and don't. All right, so here's one of the answers we talked about. 8-man protection, max protect, throw 2-man routes. Now, here's what I don't understand. I think this is Greg Roman outsmarting himself. They're in 22 personnel, okay? So they're thinking, all right, maybe we get the Dolphins in a base 3-4 look. Well, Flores and company are not fooled because they got their subgroup in. So now you're running a 2-man route, and one of your guys is a tight end against 2 corners. Not a winning business model. Not to say that Andrews can't get open, but like you're trying to run downtown deep routes, you know, it's not great. I love it. They protect with 8, and Lamar gets the ball off, deep comeback.
I thought this
almost catches it, but look, he's still getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's got to be so frustrating. Also, I don't know, man. I'm no pass protection. I'm no Tony Wise or a Kyle Flood or whatever. But Jesus, I mean, to have everybody over here, and I know you're gonna full slide to this. But because of this is so genius. He grabs this guy so he can't block. I mean, in theory, you should be able to pick up Holland coming through. He gets him. They get him, I guess. But 55 wins. Nice long arm here. They should catch that. That should be a first down, but they don't. And I think that's an accumulation of hits. I mean, throughout the game is you're getting smoked the whole time. Like, it's going to take its toll. All right, here we go. Here's the catch fumble I think you were talking about. So let's check the down and distance. It's 3rd and 10. Usually I have all that information up. Like I said, guys, I'm in playoff mode right now. 3rd and 10. They're going to throw the quick slant. Good ball. Get it out. Bam. Knocked out. Scoop.
House call.
To the hut, as my uncle would say. So, there you go. Now, if
I think they'd been tagged twice on the slant before this. Like we said, and I know we saw one of them earlier. But this was, I think, the first one that they hit on Xavier Howard.
And here's the beautiful part about playing, and you're exactly right. Here's the beautiful part about playing non-traditional zero eyes coverage. And this, by the way, I want to make this very clear. This is not eyes coverage like the 2 under 3 deep stuff we talk about that you hear like Pitt does and Georgia does and Clemson does. This is just country ass. I'm going to play off and let them throw hitches all game. The best way to beat this, to be honest with you, I think if I had to do this game all over again, I would run quick hitters like this. Here, hit these slants underneath, or really not slants, just hitches, and hope that you can get some rack. But again, because they're not in zero man, they're not looking at you can read an X game. Just a ball guy. We used to read them all the time. I'll show you how you can do it too.
He's Keen Lamar.
Try to throw the freaking hitches, but he's Keen Lamar. I'm just thinking. I thought I had an idea, but I don't. I was just processing it through my brain. But yeah, so Rowe is able to get in there because that's Rowe, right? He's able to get in there.
Yes.
It's a hitch. Yeah. Good luck, Coach Brown. Thank you so much for everything. Coach Brown is the MVP of the Patreon and the Huddle account, and he's helps me out so much. Thank you so much.
Go get him, Coach.
He comes by to hang out. Let's watch the pressure. Jesus, Adam Butler was like, "You signed me to do what?" But now, see, you can see where some of this stuff is. They're going no matter what. And I think it's tied in. I think I have it figured out, but I need to watch a little more film on this. But they got 2 off the edge. You know, he has to get that ball out. And if he doesn't, you get smacked. Now they throw a little bit more sprint out of more conventional spread sets. This is the type of stuff that would be good. Get the ball on the edge. But again, they're throwing to a tight end. Is 84 is a tight end, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, you're throwing an arrow route to a tight end? What down is it? I'm getting pissed. It's 2nd and 10. You're losing by 12 points. You're going to sprint out and throw a flat route to a tight end. You're not only a tight end, you're second best tight end. Cool. I mean, come on, man. Like, this is the shit that bothers me. But this is what happens.
They don't even have Andrews on the field here, do they?
I don't even.
So it's
know
not even like
anymore.
you can say they're in 12 or 21 and they're trying to manipulate, like you said earlier, trying to get in base defense. They're still in 11.
Yeah. Rocket toss would be scary, Pete, because and we saw some stuff earlier. I don't know how long you've been here. Somebody in the chat mentioned rocket toss. They were getting 2 off the edge, so they had a guy. So they did something earlier. They ran jet sweep, but they had an extra guy off the edge. So you can get this guy here to take out the blocker, and they had an unblocked guy off the edge. That's the thing is, a lot of the answers that you have for this type of shit is for showing 6 guys, not for showing 7. And then when you show 7, it's like it's over. Like you can't do it. You can't. There's nothing you can do. I mean, this is a shit show. I know we watched this one already, but this is the very next play. So you just threw that horse shit. It's 2nd and whatever. You just threw that play. All right, let's motion empty. And all right, it's 3rd and 10. You're down by 12. Let's throw a slant for 3 yards. Drops it off the field. I mean, that's the shit that's just like, come on, man. And they actually start to get some stuff later in the game we'll get to. All right, here's another one. So this is the very next series. Make sure I get the down and distance right here. Shit, that's a quick scoreboard shot. 1st and 3 from the 8. That does what? It must be 2nd. They just didn't flip it yet. So 2nd and 3. You got the read blitz going again. Now they're playing. It looks to me with him up and these guys off, they may be locking this where he's locked on 2 and they're banjoing 1 and 3 with these guys. I don't know yet. Let's check it out.
Which if it's a tight end. Nope.
They push it because
if that's a tight end, it would have made sense since Rowe's the guy who usually handles the tight end man coverage assignments, but that's not what they did.
Yeah. So. I think this is a bust because I think what he sees is he sees the back and he goes, oh shit, and starts to come up, but then Holland got it and he's like, oh my God, and then he retreats. But again, I mean, it's just I've never seen anything like this, man. This is just, I mean, you have a free runner, right? And I know, like, this guy is amazing, and he makes some crazy plays. But to ask him to do that every play, and I don't know what the answer is. And this is crazy. They're only bringing 3 guys. That's when you really get into people's head. So now, somebody asked us, oh, let's full slide. Somebody asked us earlier, right? Full slide, get the back on the hot, right? Good answer. But here's the problem. They have 2 off the edge. And when you play, so if you're playing a normal defense, let's say this guy is, let's say he's a 3 technique. Let's say you get this, right? We used to do this all the time in high school to manipulate full slide protections. You could go Well, you'd still be like a normal one where you'd have an edge guy, right? He would go and you'd throw off of him. But they've got to eat. They all have to step down, and now you have to thread a 2 off the edge. So now he swings. He's got this, and he's still scot-free. I mean, and he makes a miss, but then he gets creamed. I mean, with a 3-man rush. The dropper actually, he drops, he sits, and then he adds. It almost becomes like odd mirror if you've ever heard me talk about the odd mirror stuff. This is so much fun. Oh my God. All right, so they start coming up with some answers. The only problem is there's 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So one thing that they start to do, which I thought was really good, and I was waiting for them to do it, was do this combination here. Because if you're going to banjo this, which banjo is a 2-on-2 between these guys, right? You can play this and get this over the top, but the issue is that is really tough when you're having to play so heavy. I mean, yeah, they're NFL athletes, but he's still at 8 yards. That's really hard. So you see, here's the first one they do. Ball comes out fast. Again, though, you're only getting 5 yards. I know he drags him forward. Great play by, that's Bateman, right? 13? No, it's Duvernay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Wait. Who's who?
No, that is
I'm
Duvernay.
Sorry. Okay, 13's Duvernay. So, good job here. They get the ball out fast. Let's watch the protection. So they're going half slide away from the back. Actually, Le'Veon does a good job of picking this up. I mean, I know the ball's out, but the fact that he doesn't just butt sniff in here and let this guy go off the edge, there's some patience there. He does a good job of IDing the threats. Ball's out. That's type of stuff that, but again, you paint these guys into the corner where they're having to do this stuff, and then you line up like this and you run trap 2, or you have your counter punch. You're backing them into their play menu gets shrunk down. And again, you know what they're going to do. Okay, here's a quick out. So now this is starting to get later in the game. They're starting to run their isolation routes. The DBs are playing a little softer. There's a clip, I didn't include it, I don't think, where they, the one where they threw the out, he almost picks it and then misses and the guys go.
That's later on this same possession, I think.
Yeah, I think I killed
Are you
that
talking
one
about
out
the
of
one
there.
that they go on 24?
Yeah, they almost.
And it's like,
think
how
they
the
score
hell
on.
did Byron Jones not get his hands on that ball?
Yeah. But I mean, look,
What are your
Lamar's
thoughts on
having
this
to get
roughing
this
the
out.
passer?
Oh, this is the bullshit roughing the passer call. So
Okay.
irritating.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
All right, so here's another snap of the out. So now they're starting to spread out, place them empty, get them out in space. Okay, so you start to see it. They jump this out, but look what if he pumps this. Now, again, does he have time to pump this and throw the vertical? That's the thing. If you're only bringing 6 people, if you're only bringing 5 people, they have time to pump this out and throw the go ball. But they're betting Flores and company, and I feel bad because I'm not giving the defensive coordinators due, and he may be great, but I know all their language is from the Patriots, so I'm guessing Flores has a huge hand in it. They don't have time to do that. So here's the very next, this is a series later. So it's 22-10. This is the drive that scored on that drive. So here comes the fade on the outside. So now they've thrown the out. They're going to go for the out. Bang, he hits the whole shot. That's good stuff. Is that Bateman? Who's 12? Is that Duvernay?
That is Bateman, yes.
All right, so Bateman's 12. Okay. So now, but again, this is great stuff. And it's almost like a series. You're setting the out, you're hitting the out, you're getting these guys driving up, and you have the time. But here's the thing with the Dolphins. To be honest with you, they weren't showing the same level of aggression. They're up 22-10. There's a few plays left. You get in a protect mode. They're still bringing it, but they're not bringing it with the same ferocity that they were a little bit ago. I mean, look at this stance right here. Oh, he's straight from New England too. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. So maybe it's all him. I don't know. But like, look, you're starting to get tired. This is what happens. Look at that stance. Are you really gonna go? That's the stuff I don't like. Look at this guard. He doesn't even respect it.
Yeah, he doesn't even think about him.
Nah, because look at his stance. And this is where guys get tired. Their body posture changes.
I think that's a little bit of youth too. That's Brandon Jones, a second year guy, and this is his first year in a full-time role. He was predominantly teams guy last year.
All right. Poor Lamar. Look at this. Look at this. This is insane. I like this. They actually bring it away from the back late. But see, Holland, this is good. They like fan to it. Here you go. Flare away. Slide. You still
Lamar's
got the guy.
Off his spot so he can redirect and pivot.
Did they not pick it up? I want to see. I forgot what happens here. They let it go. They actually let it go. So youth, yeah, you said youth is a problem. Here it is. And that guy's wide open. I don't know what they're trying to do here. Let's move on. Here you go. Last play of the game. Same concept. They're still dropping out. But you see the difference here. Now let's watch the end zone real quick. Now watch the difference on this snap. He makes him go there. He makes him buy that, which means he can't help on anybody else. It's already over. The play's over for that guy. Okay. Ogba gets free. Lamar has to throw off his back foot. Interception. Let's watch the sideline real quick. Okay, this feels anticlimactic. We got a few minutes left. I'm going to blow through these. They did some other stuff on defense. They ran some fire zones. Again, they're running double-edged fire zone here. Oh, 1 second. They're just standard fare. Actually, no, they're bringing 2 off the edge. I'm sorry. So we saw this earlier. They're bringing 2 off the edge. They're playing 3 deep fire zone. You know. They get in the throwing lanes. So it wasn't always max blitz, but you can see a lot of it where those 2 off the edge concepts, basically, I mean, I'm being reductionist here, but they got in base, they brought 2 off the edge, they ran that crazy ass blitz in sub and basically completely destroyed their offense with a couple calls. This is the old NCAA blitz. They're getting 2 off the edge though, so they're bringing the backer here and the edge guy, but they're swapping them. This is an old Bud Foster concept. He's not the only one to do it, but he kind of made it popular out of 4 down, where he's going to knife off the edge and he's going to wrap outside. They get a sack. This is earlier in the game. No, this is third quarter. Was this? I think this is 3rd down. So this is just really good. When you're trying to attack this protection, so the best way to attack 7-man full slide, so everybody's gapping back this way. Gapping back, bringing him across. The best way to attack it is the seam between these 2 guys right here. So one of my favorite things to do when we would see this, especially if it was they lined up to the same side, was bring an end, try to get those both to block him, and then get somebody coming underneath there with him coming down so the guard or the tackle stays on it, whatever. They kind of get the same effect just by doing this. The back has a bad angle. They actually both start to block 43, then they both go to block 52, and 43 is almost surprised. Watch is this Van Ginkel, right? He's almost like,
yeah.
Holy shit, I'm free. You can almost see. There's like that split second where he's like, is this a screen? Am I being tricked? This is fake news? And then here's a few snaps. Again, I'm just going to let this roll because we're at the end. Here's a few snaps of them showing like they're bringing pressure, bluffing out. And this is what I'm okay with spot dropping. When you're Nolan Ryan and you're throwing heater after heater after heater after heater, and I mean, you're mowing them down, I will take a little spot drop action as a changeup because the ball's going to come out fast. Now, I know some of these routes develop longer, but, you know, the ball's coming out. This is a great break. You'll see it better from the end zone.
Oh, yeah.
Holland, man, he is a stud.
Watching his evolution over the past month has been tremendous. And it's cool because the role that he's filled now over the last couple of weeks is kind of like a hybrid of what he was at Oregon, where his first year there, when he was a true freshman, he was a high post safety almost exclusively. And then in 2019, he was kind of that hybrid nickel sub linebacker, little bit of everything. And this game has embodied, I mean, he's high post, he's walked up on the edge, he's getting involved in pressure situations. It's a true testament, this game, for the versatility that he has. And thinking about what they probably envisioned for Minkah Fitzpatrick when Brian Flores first got here, and now seeing that role realized with a player like Holland has been a cool subplot to what's been a pretty tough first half of the season.
I hate getting on players too much because I know that I could never do this, and I know that these guys, it's very hard, and that's why they get paid so much money. But this guy is god-awful. I mean, literally every snap is just him getting his ass kicked. Here's over 3. He oversets. Van Ginkel sheds inside, makes the play. I mean, they can't even get hitches off in 3 deep. Talk to me about Minkah Fitzpatrick. What the hell? Or go ahead. First, make your point, and then I want to ask you about Minkah.
Sure. I was just going to say about Villanueva, it's a huge red flag when an organization like Pittsburgh, who you looked at their offensive line and you knew that situation needed all the help that it could get, and they still chose to let him walk, that he had probably seen all of his best football was behind him. And I think you're seeing that in Baltimore.
Just the sheer violence. So here's a little bluff. They're kind of walked up. They drop. Well, it's not really a bluff. They only rush 4. So you got 5. No, it is. It is a bluff. I'm sorry. So this is one of the few snaps they bluff. Holland's going to play the middle. These 2 guys are going to drop out. They're going to sit in the seams as cover 3. But because of the pressure, they're also like, it's not a jump set, but it's just a shitty set. He gets open, knocks the ball up, knocks it back out. So what's the end zone? I mean, it's just, I don't know. Very, very few times. We got 2 clips left. Fire these up real quick. So now another bluff clip. So again, what makes this? I mean, again, you're showing like you're coming. You want them to get their protection set or get whatever you want, but you can't truly come from the middle, from the line of scrimmage to the middle of the field. They bail out. He has to scramble. They're running outs and hitches. I mean, some mirrored Harry High School concept. I don't know what they're doing. Force them to scramble. They're just so violent. Here's one more bluff.
I were hoping you were going to have this one. This is one where Holland pushes all the way to middle of the field while walked up on the line of scrimmage off here.
Yeah, so I actually was wrong there. You can't do that, apparently. There you go. That's a little too dangerous for my liking, but that's okay. I mean, when it's this guy, there you go. But again, so you're forcing them to make these quick throws. They have all these quick routes built in. This is towards the end of the game too. I believe this was the penultimate drive. So we got a quick scoreboard shot. No, it's a little bit. Yeah, so beginning of 4th. But yeah, so after all this deliciousness and praise, I do want to ask about Minkah because I've never had that fully explained to me. Why did they let him go?
So from what I understand, the thought process was, and Ty Dunn did a feature on Minkah, I think it was at the beginning of the year, in August or something, and it kind of detailed Minkah's perspective on what happened there in Miami, and it turns out, Coach Flores is a first-year coach, and they were trying to get him involved in doing drills that involved playing in the box and, addressing blockers. And it got to the point where Minkah was actively ignoring what drills the coaches were sending him to and going to do coverage drills when they wanted him working on his block deconstruction drills and working on the pads and with his hands and how to break down blocks. He's like, I'm a free safety. And I don't know if kind of the messaging of the rebuild was something that either subliminally or directly influenced kind of his decision-making process that he wanted to get out of there. But I do know from a culture perspective, when Minkah's not listening to this brand new coaching staff who's trying to come in and establish a culture about hey, go work on the bags and work on, getting off the blocks. And he runs to the other side of the field and he starts doing one-on-ones. I just think they didn't want to have to deal with that amid trying to lay the foundation and groundwork for kind of, this is the way we're going to do our business. So with it, I think it was the fact that it got that bad was why they were willing to go out and look for what they felt was an appropriate return for him.
It's just so weird because at Bama he did everything, and he comes from that program. I'm shocked. He was like, "No, I'm good." Like,
well, yeah, and that was character. That was, if you listen to him in the pre-draft process, he talked about it. One of his best traits was his versatility and all the things that he can do. And it was really weird for me too, where it's like, okay, so they're asking you to work on the things that you need to get better at, because we know you can hunt the ball. We know you can be good in coverage. But he had like a 20% missed tackle rate his rookie season. So tackling was an issue and getting in fits. And we saw him this past weekend. He got put in a blender by whoever from Detroit a couple of times. And so like I guess he just wanted to play that starring role. But I agree with you where that versatility and the biggest appeal for him at Alabama was the dude did everything. And you get a coach in here that wants to ask him to do everything. And he kind of throws his hands up and says, you know what, I think I'm out. So really surprising situation. And it's a nice reminder from a draft perspective where like you can think you can know guys, but that's the ultimate variability that comes with this part of football is until you have somebody in that environment with the people that's going to be around them, you never truly know.
No, you don't. And if I'm the Dolphins and I'm their coaches, I'm pissed. But if I'm Minkah, I'm like, wait a minute, like, what's the best way? This is a business decision. Yeah, I got to tackle some middle field safety, but what's going to make me last longer? So I get both sides, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, after working for Saban, I don't know how Flores is, but if he's his Belichick clone, after working for Saban and playing for Saban, and maybe having a year, because he was at the Dolphins for a year before Flores, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he was just like, and he had it easier. Things were a little bit, this is the pros, this is how things go. Then he gets a taste of that, and he's like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not doing this again. And I don't know if I can blame him.
Right.
Like, you only get one shot at this. You're at a losing organization, to be honest with you. And you have a guy coming in who's all up my ass and asking me to go and do something that's going to hurt my body that I really don't want to do when I'm an elite cover guy. And I could see where, listen, anybody can go run into people at full speed. Not many people can cover people man-to-man in the slot, right?
Right.
You want me, I have these elite skills, and you want me to do this. So, like, yeah, as a fan or as a coach, like, you do what I say. But if I'm his agent or his best friend and they get to go to the Steelers on top of it, yeah, sign me up. You know what I mean? So, you got a couple questions in the chat from Jordan. Question for Crabbs: why do we value edges over safeties? You can run quick game, double team, run away from cut screen, blah, 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 and an edge out of a game mostly. You can't easily do that for a safety. Why does TDN and so many others value a solid cave-on, etc., yet Kyle Hamilton is a true unicorn? Who's the comp? Taylor Mays, but way better. Well, Taylor Mays is dog shit, so.
So TDN, for our first two sets of rankings, Kyle Hamilton's been our number one player. And it comes back to versatility. And, Kyle Hamilton, safety at Notre Dame, the real true appeal of him is he can be playing 12 yards off and he's still going to get into fits in the box, and he's going to get there in 3 yards because his anticipation, his explosiveness, his size really allows him to shine in that area. And he's a really good tackler in space. This year, before he got injured, he was playing more coverage in the slot than what he was previously. He's been a guy who's walked up on the end of the line of scrimmage. So, Jordan, I hear your question, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that the thought process for us when we placed Kyle Hamilton as our top player, and we have an update that's coming out this week, and I don't want to spoil where he's at on there, but he's still a top 3 player.
Come on, give us a little crumb. Let's break some news. I'm just kidding.
We have a new player at 1 on the board. Ooh, I'll leave it at that. So it's no longer Kyle Hamilton, and the motivation for me with my ballot was the fact that he is banged up and he's not playing right now. But it is that versatility dynamic in today's game that you watch him play, and you asked who the comp was. I think he's like a Derwin James type. And you saw the impact that Derwin James had when he first came in before he's had the durability issues with the Chargers. And it was like, we were like, well, he's not Jamal Adams because he has so much more of a dynamic impact in coverage than what Jamal has. He's definitely not Taylor Mays because Taylor Mays couldn't cover a lick at all. And his football instincts and anticipation weren't where you wanted them to be, to say the least, right?
The Bowflex body.
He looked great in pads, though.
Great
in pads, and he ran fast in a straight line.
Coach, he was the creative player until he had to change directions, and it was over.
So, Jordan, I hear you 100%, and I think you make a great argument. Now, our staff, we got 6 guys on staff, and we've had this debate a number of times about valuing the traditional positional values versus today's game. A unicorn type player like Kyle Hamilton is a really, really rare player in that he can do all phases of the position. And the fact that you can play in base, you can play in sub, you can get into sub pressure situations and put him in all these situations, that's really valuable to have a chess piece like that, because it's not even like you can set any of your personnel distinctions off of where he's lining up because he can do so many things.
Well, I'm not a draft expert, and I'm not a NFL personnel expert, nor will I ever pretend to be. My thing is always stay in your lane. I don't talk about shit I don't know about, because that's the quickest way you can get people to stop listening to you, is when you start blowing shit out that you just don't know. So that's one of my favorite things to say. I don't know, and if anybody ever makes fun of me about, oh, this guy's not what you're talking about, I'm like, yeah, probably not. I don't know this shit, but the stuff we just did for 2 hours, I can do that. That I can do.
And there's no shame in saying I don't know. That a lot of times honestly, that's the best answer you can have.
And a secret, I don't care. I mean, no offense to anybody, but I am a guy that consults high school and college football programs. My heart is in college defense. I love watching pro defense. I got a kick out of this, man. And thank you so much. And if you're gonna pay attention to draft stuff, Kyle's the guy to listen to. But I just and if when I do want to know stuff, I go look at your stuff and I talk to you guys like you but that's and it's so fun, because part of this show is it's this meeting of these two worlds where you get these coaches and the fans.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to make content for two very different worlds and trying to put it where people can understand on both sides and are interested in both sides. But I'll say this, as a defensive coordinator, here's my thing with an edge defender. It depends how good the edge defender is and how durable they are. Because as we saw with the Niners last year, because I did this whole thing, when I went on Mina Kimes' podcast, we talked about roster construction and how your philosophy ties in. And Flores is spend all your money on DBs, off-ball linebackers, try to get people that aren't valued as well, like Bell. And I've said this, I think, the last 7 episodes, so I apologize to people that have been here. But what makes Belichick special, and I know he gets a lot of shit for being the GM, a bad GM or whatever, but what he does is he takes non-valued position and builds his defense around that. So Dante Hightower is one of the only constants that's been there for a long time. McCourty and Chung when he was there, but he manufactures, and we talked about this last week, he had a package called Rush 54-0, which meant we're going to get in a 4-man front, we're going to mug him up to get 5-0 protections, and we're going to let Hightower call his own stunts, and they're going to be designed for him. Now, again, you always have to have the curveball, you always have to have the changeup, but we're going to feature him. And it's cheaper to get 2 Hightowers than 1 Bosa, and if Bosa gets hurt, you're screwed.
Right.
But if you got a guy who's durable, I honestly think the most valuable position, and this is just me as a defensive coordinator, I'm not talking about, I don't worry about salary. That's the thing, is salary cap and value, I don't give a shit. Because in my world, I get a group of kids every year, and I got to build a defense around what I have. And when I was in college, I could go recruit, whatever. But I don't have to think about that stuff. If you can find an interior pass rusher where you can't scheme around him, That's why Aaron Donald, because the edge guys, yeah, there's things that you can do to block them, but at the end of the day, if you can win one-on-one off the edge every time, that's pretty valuable. If you have a DB, and this is coming from a guy who believes in DBs, but again, they have to be, it's like an axis of like, how good are they? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Kayvon Thibodeau, I don't know how he's going to be in the NFL. Funny quick story, I've told this before, but my best friend, Stephen Lowe, is the offensive coordinator at St. John Bosco. We were done with our season. He was like, hey, man, do you want to help me? This is back in 2018. 2019, one of those years. 2018. You mind watching some film? I was like, yeah, sure. So he puts on Oaks Christian Film, or I don't know, one of the schools. And I'm watching it, and I'm going, this kid's pretty good. This number 5 is pretty good. So we talk, and I'm like, hey, man. He's like, what do you think? I was like, first of all, I got to stay away from number 5. He's really good. And Steve just starts howling, laughing. He's like, you mean the number 1 player in the country as a junior? You think he's good? I was like, oh, really? He is? I had no... Luckily, for them, he was like suspended for the game or something weird happened. He was done. But
yeah.
I don't know how good he's going to be. And I don't think anybody really truly knows. I think anybody that says that they know, they don't. It's all a guess. Look at guys like Herbert. There's guys that are locks. I mean, and that's why even mock drafts this time of year, and you obviously are making the most educated guesses of anybody, but guys mature at different rates. I mean, look at Holland. You said it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, at the beginning of the year, you're like, ooh, I don't know about this guy. And then now you're like, you and I are like, holy shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guys figure stuff out, and they mature at different rates, and they have eureka moments, and sometimes they don't, and that's what makes it so fascinating. But
well, and I want to piggyback off that real quick if I can, and I think that's the fun part about a team construction standpoint, because we do college and we do pro scouting, and you watch how the LA Rams are choosing to use their draft investments, and they want to use their premier draft investments into established NFL talent, and they're trading for guys, and some of these guys are on second and third contracts, all that stuff that you don't have to worry about in your shoes. But when you look at it from that perspective, and if you're trading for a pre-existing second contract and all the guaranteed money on the signing bonus has been paid out, so it's not going to get rolled into your salary cap, you have so much more flexibility, and you know exactly what you're getting at the NFL level versus a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, where we do need to see how he continues to advance and develop himself as a pass rusher. And Jalen Phillips, he was phenomenal last year for the University of Miami. He was dominant and unstoppable at times, but his ability at the NFL level, even when you're a technically advanced guy, if you're a technically advanced young guy and you're going against an experienced NFL tackle, they're going to have a lot of little tricks and tools of the trade that are going to add those little extra advantages where all of a sudden you're not turning the corner on that offensive tackle on that outside vertical set anymore. And it takes time, like you said. And for Miami, they've been fortunate this year's class more so than the 2021 class or the 2020 class. Some of these guys, Waddle, Phillips is flashing a lot, Javon Holland, they're getting some guys that are hitting the ground with their feet running here at the midway point of this season. But that variability, you talk about mock drafts, we're just trying to have good process and try and present scenarios and say, hey, this is what this coaching staff's ideology looks like. Here's players that we think could fit it. Use this opportunity to kind of narrow your scope as a fan of this team. And here's some players that you need to be mindful of, because these kind of the kinds of players that at least make sense, even if the valuation's not right, because so much is going to change between now and April.
Well, look at Kyle Hamilton. I mean, he got hurt this past weekend, right? Or was it the week before?
I think it was 3 weeks ago, but 2 games ago. I think they've had a bye.
I thought it was so I think the news just came out that he was going to be done for the rest of the regular season.
Yes. Yeah.
And how much does that hurt him? Of course they're only going to tell the media what they have to. And they don't, it's college. Right. It's not like anybody's forcing them to give injury reports. They'd like you to be, you don't want you to lie, but it's not like the NFL you're going to get fined. I don't believe. I don't know. But,
right. No.
What is really going on? I mean, they're not, I've been in those rooms. You've been, not everybody's, it's one of those things. If you ask the right questions, you'll get an answer, but it's like being on the stand at a trial. You only answer the question that's been asked. You don't volunteer more information than you're asked. And so I've seen the draft process from different points of view. the fascinating one, I mentioned my friend Dwight Lowry earlier from the Jets, watching him go through that process, and the questions he was asked and things that they wanted to know and whatever. But I mean, when you're building a defense, it's tough because a lot of it is, and it's fun to watch these teams and to break down the roster construction. And I'm fascinated by the Ravens, the Patriots, and I mean this year's Patriots, where Belichick went on a revenge spending spree, a Brady revenge spending spree. But you know, where they're allocating their resources, who they're letting. I mean, every time Belichick gets an edge rusher, he lets them walk. And they end up coming back. You know, but he holds on to that Mike linebacker. He held on to Patrick Chung. He held on to McCourty. He held on to Gilmore for a pretty long time. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to watch those guys, because the one thing I will say about safeties is, and I would love to see, and I'm sure there's data out there, but I'd love to see a study on allocation of resource relative to the average. Like when you're building a team, do you spread your assets more average, or do you have a star? Do you have the star guys at certain spots and then you pay league minimum to certain players? Or do you say, hey, we're not going to have a guy that's like on the top end. We're going to have like 3 guys that are in the mid range. You know what I mean? And a lot of it, though, is you can have a plan, but if all of a sudden you draft a guy, help me, you're way more about this stuff than I do, who's like a 3rd or 4th round draft pick that was like maybe an afterthought on a team schematically, and all of a sudden they turn out to be the best player at their position in the entire league. And then you're like, shit, well, I can't let this guy go, because when's the next time we're going to draft a guy like this? Like, I'm trying to think of a good...
How about Stephon Diggs was like a 5th, 6th round pick, and he ended up being really good for Minnesota, and then goes to Buffalo last year and has a insurmountable season. He was just phenomenal from top to bottom.
Trying to think of a defensive guy though, like I'm trying to think of a team that like didn't necessarily value a position, and I know I'm going way back, and I don't even know if he was drafted by them, but like a Rondé Barber. Okay, you're at the Bucks, and I know I'm going way back, but they're a Tampa 2 team. You know, hey, corners aren't super valued. We need safeties.
How about Kevin Byard?
I was actually thinking of him, but I didn't know where he fit in terms of safeties. Like how Pease valued safeties. So he was actually my first thought. A guy where you're like, you know, we want safeties and whatever. You know, we need some guys here. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, he's the best player, or one of the best players in his position. We got to pay him a lot of money. We don't really love doing that with safeties, but he's really good. And where are we going to find another guy like this? You know,
Jordan's got a couple good ones here in the
then how do
chat,
you
like Darius Leonard?
Yeah, how do you all of a sudden just like, oh shit, you know, we usually like, and Belichick's ruthless. He'll be like, yeah, you're really good, see ya. But like some of these guys, and he can manufacture a lot of those guys with scheme, but you know, some of these guys, they don't come along very often. And do you all of a sudden change, hey, let's invest more in that safety? Or now because I've invested in the safeties, how do I compensate? Where do I have to take away from? And how does that affect my scheme? And then how does it affect my game planning? Obviously, that's really hard to tell without sitting down with Matt and Dean Pease and be like, so tell me a time when this happened. I mean, it's all conjecture. You have to watch a lot of film and have a lot of data to be like, oh, they played more of this, that, and the other.
Well, I think about a team that they drafted him early, so it's not quite to that same criteria you just laid out, but the Jets with Jamal Adams, right? And Joe Douglas just said, look, dude, I don't care how good you are. I'm not paying a safety $16, $17 million a year, so you can go ahead and hit the road. It's the same thing with like Chandler Jones with New England, right? Chandler Jones, and they got him late 1, early 2, something like that. And he's the guy who's gone away and has been just as good, if not better, away from New England than what he was. But they were willing to let him walk and not compromise their morals from a team building guidelines perspective to keep him.
And if you were to say, who's a better football player, Chandler Jones or Dante Hightower? I think a lot of people say Chandler Jones.
Yeah.
But who's a better football player in New England for what Bill Belichick does within the context of the team?
Hightower can do more.
Hightower can do more. You can't It's the old adage of, going back to Tom Landry, the 4-3 defense, the middle linebacker. You can't run away from him. Like Ray Lewis, where are you going to go? When Ray Lewis was the mic, where are we going to go? Run toss? Like misdirection? Well, he can see both guards. So if you run counter, he's staring at both guys. Right. You put a guy in the middle, and that's kind of, for me, and this is maybe the little bit of soccer fan in me, is like, if you build through the spine of your team, if you can get and I hate saying this word, the unicorn, whatever, and he's in the middle, and he's not replaceable, you can't go away from him. I mean, if you have a Mike, and if you, like, let's say you're I know off-ball linebackers aren't as valuable anymore, but if you have a guy, you have an Urlacher, a Lewis, like one of those dudes that are just unbelievable, and you can protect him, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Schematically. I mean, throw outside, I'm guessing, but like, that sounds good in a vacuum. Like, all right, it's 3rd and 6, let's throw outside. But when you can take someone out one side of the field away, I mean, there's only so much you can be like, well, we'll just go to this side. Well, I know you're going to go to that side. You know what I mean? But anyway, we're getting into
it's the micro version of it's the micro version of, we just talked about what this Dolphins defensive game plan did from a pre-snap alignment and look perspective, right? Where it's like, if you got a guy, whether it's scheme, which is what we saw in this game, or it's an individual player who is going to change the menu, that's how you make hay. It's just, how do you want to choose to do it?
Well, that's why I think interior linemen defensively are so valuable in my brain as a coordinator. I'm not saying as a GM. I know a lot of them don't pan out. For every Aaron Donald, there's 6 Glenn Dorseys, maybe 12 Glenn Dorseys, whatever. And I love Glenn Dorsey. But, like, if I can put somebody at the point of attack, because, like, in my world, we ran the TC system in 4-2-5, right? And the whole thing was, where do we want our 3 technique? We want to get our 3 technique to where they're running the ball. So all your study, I mean, if you strip everything away, that's what it was. Where do we get we want our 3 technique to the side of the ball's going. No, whether we slant them, or we're slanting to get the 3 technique to the ball, or we're doing different things. But the problem is, there's not that many Aaron Donalds. There's even more Bosa's than there are Aaron Donalds. I mean, how many true inside? Because I think, like, if I was building a team, and again, if you have Lawrence Taylor, so if it's like Lawrence Taylor or Deion Sanders, give me Lawrence Taylor. But how many Lawrence Taylors are there? There's not. Yeah, exactly. So, like, a Deion Sanders, like, how many Deions have there been? I mean, so, like, if I was building a defense and it's like, okay, well, what position could you choose? Like, if you give me anything, I'm a 4-3 guy, I would take a 3 technique more than an edge rusher. If I could have the greatest 3 technique of all time.
Well, and that's
Joe
that's
Green, Warren Sapp, Aaron Donald, those guys. But if you don't have those guys, and you're like, you can have and I'm not trying to poo-poo him, but you can have like a Chase Young, who again is phenomenal, but he's in his 2nd year, and he's not Lawrence Taylor, or Willie off the pickle boat playing 3 technique. Well, then give me Chase Young. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it gets, and that's, for me as a scheme guy, that's where this discussion gets really, really fascinating. Yeah. So thank you for indulging me.
What you can't do is base it off of the exceptions to the rule, right? And that's whether it's drafting a quarterback in the 6th round and expecting he's going to be Tom Brady, or saying, well, I'm gonna bring in and prioritize my 3 technique because he's going to be Aaron Donald. Well, you can't expect the next guy to be Aaron Donald, right? So then it gets into so many layers that get into this, and that's what I love.
So fascinating,
the draft stuff and team building stuff.
Yeah, and I love that part of it. What I don't like is the emotional stuff, not the emotional, but like the ESPN shit where they're like, oh, these human interest stories. It just turns into like, how
about when they had Najee Harris on Monday Night Football and they didn't even get his background story right?
I have a bone to pick with Najee Harris. So I was visiting Tosh LaPointe, Alabama back in 2018. And I had just left Sarah High School. I was going to be going to Clovis High School. So I was visiting Tosh. And Najee was in Tosh's office. And Tosh is like, Najee, meet Coach Vass. Coach Vass meets Tosh. We shake hands, whatever. And he's like, he's a NorCal boy too. And he's like, oh, word, you know, like whatever. And so I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, they just won a state championship at Sarah. And he goes, Sarah? I started laughing. I'm like, listen, you son of a bitch.
State championship.
We would have beat your ass. Antioch. Fuck that. But yeah, so I've always been like, I love Najee, but I'm always like, Najee, you son of a bitch. But he's all, I mean, he's, I remember him as a sophomore. And I remember somebody was like, oh, they got this back in Antioch. Because we were just over the bridge from Antioch. Mm-hmm. I was just south of San Francisco Airport. And somebody was like, check this kid out. He's got an offer from Bama as a sophomore. And I was like, holy shit. Like, you come all the way out to California, you get a running back as a sophomore? That's why I knew Kendall Milton of Georgia was going to be the real deal. Because he was in our league. And Georgia could go anywhere. And they came out to get, nobody's even around. So I watched the first play of Najee highlight tape. I watched the first 3 plays. And I was like, they ran like toss sweep and he went for a touchdown. I was like, okay. But he was so fast, he'd run out of the frame. So I was like, okay, let me start this over again. Or he was in the frame, but he'd run away from everybody. So I was like, this is the kid? Like, what a shitty highlight tape. Like, don't you usually put your best plays at the front? Like, what is it? How did this guy get offered by Bama?
Right.
So I'm like, something must be wrong. Because I'm not stupid. And neither's Nick Saban. So, like, I must be missing something. So I go back and I put on the first 3 plays again. And I don't watch Najee only out of the corner of my eye. I watch everybody else. And it's just like, whoa. I'm like, oh my God, okay. He was so fat because he's so big, especially at that level. He didn't look like he was moving fast. And because we had played the kid, Kashmir Allen, who ran like a 10-300 meter at UCLA. And we had played him or somebody like that. And so I'd seen fast, but he's like 5'9". So when he's going, it's like the Flintstones. You know, the feet are moving. And Najee's just like galloping. And I'm like, this guy's not that fast. And then I'm watching the other people. I just watched them to him. And it's just like. And I was like, yeah, I'm an idiot. I was like, I knew I was missing something. But anyway. So anyway, Kyle, I could literally talk to you all night. Literally. But I got to go back to game planning. Thank you so much for coming on short notice. That's what's so cool about this community. I know we don't run in the same exact circles. You know, you're in the draft world. I'm in the coaching world. Like, I don't even, most of my contacts are college and high school guys. But there was a mutual respect there, and it's just so cool. I love this so much that I could just throw out an invite in the morning, like, hey, man, you want to come hang out for a couple hours and talk some ball? And you're like, absolutely. It's just this is so fun, and, like, stuff like this. And I've done, like, some Twitter spaces. Like, the first time, right before I got COVID, I did a Twitter space. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what does this do? And I pressed start. 45 minutes later, we had a GA from Michigan State, the defensive coordinator at San Diego State, the line coach at Ole Miss, and everybody's like jumping in. Like, I don't even remember what the hell we talked about. We were going from topic to topic to topic. And it's just such a blast. And it's guys like you who love the game. And it's a job, and you have a business, and, you know, we all have to have lights on and food in our bellies. But the fact that after you do this all day, and you have an 11-month-old at home, 11-month, that you're willing to come on here for a couple of 2.5 hours now and talk some ball and just shoot the shit and hang out. It's just really cool, man. And I really love this community. And I always say this, but, you know, Twitter can be a very, 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 very toxic place. But I feel like the football community, especially the coach community, and I only speak about that because the draft community is not, I don't want to speak as like an arbiter of the truth of the draft community, but like, right. On my side, like, everybody's just so cool. We come hang out and just talk shit, and not talk shit like bad, but like shoot the shit rather. And I just really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, man, the pleasure was all mine here. And like I said at the very top, I have such a great respect for the content that you produce and the fact that you educate people and teach people and you make people smarter fans and you make me a smarter analyst by everything that you provide. And so this was an absolute treat, and I love the fact that you thought of me and reached out, and I appreciate you sharing your platform with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, like I told you, I was not even bullshitting. Like, I was going to fly solo because I didn't even know if I was going to get to do this tonight. I was, like, kind of behind on some of the stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to do solo because I don't want to waste anybody's time. And then I was like, let me hit up Kyle, see if he wants to come on. But I was fully prepared to just roll solo. But these are so much better because when you're, just from a selfish standpoint, having to entertain somebody without being able to talk to somebody else for 2.5 hours is exhausting. But to actually get to learn from you and have these great conversations, like, my favorite part of this whole thing was like getting to talk to you just about, after I was done doing the film, just talking about roster construction and interacting with the audience. I just love, and I appreciate everybody being so cool because it's so easy to be so negative. And I'm not like Mr. Sunshine and fucking rainbows, especially when we talk about offense. I want to like kill, but like that everybody in the chat is cool and nobody's trolling, nobody's talking shit. Like, it's just refreshing. You know, because this is not my job. I don't have to do this. And I don't mean to be a dick, but, like, I know this stuff. Like, I don't need to, like, I could go on with my day and know what I just talked about, and that'd be fine. But, like, to kind of roll the ball out, see what happens, bring somebody kick-ass like you on, talk. And I love teaching. I'll always, no matter what I do in my life, I'll always be a teacher. And I love that I have a platform and I'm allowed to, and the privilege to have a platform, because if it weren't for guys like you and the people in these chats, I wouldn't exist. This wouldn't exist. I'd be teaching, and I would have, God knows what, after my mom passed. But I love getting my fix to teach and share my knowledge, because I wouldn't have known any of this shit without other people taking the time with me. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you guys for listening. And if you hold up your end of the promise, boys, in the chat, I'm going to try to get justice and do the Packers game tomorrow. No promises, but stay tuned. By the way, follow me on Twitter at Coach Vass, the show's account at MDGA Podcast. Kyle, give yourself a plug one more time. For those of you guys who don't know Kyle, well, where are you? Where have you been? But if you don't, or you don't have Twitter or whatever, how can we find you on Twitter, and how can we read your work?
So on Twitter, I'm at Grinding the Tape. Always working through college prospects, and now with hosting the Locked On Dolphins podcast, I do NFL tape as well, particularly through the Dolphins lens. And I'm over at thedraftnetwork.com. I'm the scouting director there, and we have a great team, thedraftnetwork.com, and we're very excited for this season to have some former pro scouts, some young guys that are in part-time roles, and we got a really, really great group with a really collaborative effort, and we hope you guys check it out.
If anybody's listening that wants to be a scout or wants to get involved, I'm sure you get this question all the time. Do you have any advice? I know that's like the most open-ended like question in the world, but I always ask this because I know that I don't want to mention possible names of competitors and piss you off, but I know like there's people that, do you do the Scouting Academy? They teach people how to be scouts, right?
Yeah, Dan's excellent. Dan Hatman, who
I don't know. I feel bad because I might have been like talking to Pepsi and mentioning Coke. I can cut this.
No.
No.
I
don't
Dan,
know. Do you train scouts, or do you just hire people that have already scouts? Like, like, is there a world where you can learn how to do this?
So I think the Scouting Academy is a great resource for anybody who wants to be a student of the game. And really that is what it's all about, is understanding if you want to get into the pro realm where you work for a team, Dan's going to teach you how to write reports that are pro style reports that are going to resonate with those decision makers who are ultimately responsible for hiring people. But he's also got a great resource and a great library and network of people who are going to teach you the game. And that was really, for me, it was a 5 or 6 year process of taking my own up to high school level before I got hurt and didn't get a chance to pursue any playing career further than that. And then while I was in my undergrad, coaching at the high school level.
Where'd you go to? I'm sorry to interrupt. Where did you go to college?
Yeah. So I went to Penn State. I was at Indiana University, Pennsylvania for 1 semester my freshman year. And my parents got divorced and I moved home to help my mom. So I ended up transferring to Penn State. Being a little bit closer to home for that.
So how'd you become a Dolphins fan?
So when I
should have asked you this. I'm the worst host, by the way. I'm like, yeah. Thanks for coming on. You can find him on Twitter. Yeah, let's talk some fucking ball. Let's get to the film. I'm so terrible at this. I apologize.
When I was 4, my dad got a job in Augusta, Georgia. And we moved down there and it was 1993. And it was when the Dolphins were on TV because it was Marino, Shula. They were on TV all the time, and I was down there for 3 years.
I don't know what happened.
Jump? Did you get that? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
You're good,
sick.
though.
The whole origin story's been buried. We moved down to Georgia when I was 4 in 1993, and the Dolphins were the good team that was always on TV at the time, and I was down there for 3 years through the end of the Shula era. So I saw them on TV in my formative years quite a bit, and I never got off the wagon from there.
That's awesome. So are you in State College now?
I'm in northern Delaware now. I'm about 40 minutes south of Philadelphia.
So one of my best friends went to Penn State. What year were you?
2011.
Okay, so you're a little younger. She was 08, 09. So I know it's a big school. What was your major? Out of curiosity.
Kinesiology, exercise science.
Okay. One of my cousins does chemical engineering. But anyway, is a professor there. But anyway,
cool.
That's so cool. So one of my best friends lives in that area. Worked for a plastics company up there. I forget the name of it. Is in DC now, but went to Penn State. What's the name of the city you're in?
Right now I'm outside of Christiana, Delaware.
She was somewhere else, but like similar paths. Like went to Penn State, settled in that area. So I was interested. So I was going to ask, how did you learn all this stuff? Like, how was it just self-study? So you were doing high school, and then how did you start to really, really want to get in? I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but
there's a guy who.
Oh, we have an alert. Sorry, pardon me. Justice Mosqueda said, "Fuck it, I'll do it till tomorrow." So we're gonna go on. Here's the deal. I'm not gonna have time to watch the game. We're just gonna turn it on, and I'm gonna be like, "This is bullshit" or whatever, or "This is great." It's normally a shit show. It's gonna be a complete shit show. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm glad the peer pressure worked for Justice.
Oh, I was like, I told everybody that I'd only do it if you do it, and he was like, "Fuck." I'm so bad. I'm so good / bad at guilting people. I'm good at it, but it's bad.
I believe he's still with Next Gen Stats, but his name is Mike Band, and he was with Minnesota. And he was somebody who I had, picked his brain quite a bit to kind of just steer me in a direction, because I knew I wanted to try and build a portfolio for myself. And through some of the part-time gigs that I had Gary Horton, who was the co-founder of Scouts Inc., which is how McShay kind of worked his way up and got in with ESPN. Scout Inc. was acquired by ESPN. He worked in a effectively like a per diem role for one of the sites that I worked for, and he was very generous with his time to kind of talk about the scouting process and how to go through evaluation process. And from there, it was a lot of, like you mentioned, self-teaching, a lot of coaching lectures and watching guys get up on the chalkboard and coaching coaches clinics and stuff like that. And then asking questions and knowing when to say, I don't know, and I need to go find somebody who does know so that they can tell me what the hell I'm looking at here.
Yeah. It's so fascinating to me because the way I've looked at football from when I started is so profoundly different. But we don't have, if the coaches don't have people like you to spot these things, we would be nothing. And it's so fascinating to me. I just went and I'm downloading the Jets or the Seahawks game as we're talking.
You're fully committed now.
Damn it. But I can see what a kid can do on defense and be like, this is where he would fit in our defense. But to watch a kid in another defense and then say, how would he translate? Even in recruiting, I get questions a lot with recruiting. That was not my strongest area. I mean, I knew okay, that kid's a good football player. I know what he can do, but recruiting in college is not the same detail as the draft, because in the draft you've got 7 shots if you haven't traded your picks like a drunken sailor like McVay, or the other way around. We've got 13. We're you can miss on a kid or two in college, but it's so much more. And then you got to worry about where you take him, because then that's how much you're going to pay him, and then how that fits in.
Right.
And you got to balance all the salary stuff out. Like, football, it's like, well, that kid didn't work out. I mean, you never want to burn scholarships, but also it's just like, you know, there's a lot more margin for error.
Pipeline's a little deeper. Yeah.
Right.
And if you miss on 3 guys, it might not cost you your job.
Well, like, and you can move guys. Like, that's one thing in the NFL. You don't see people moving. You don't see people moving people, like moving positions. You know, so whereas this, it's like, you know, you move a guy from, there's nobody moving from O-line to D-line. Like, one of my players, Neo Mafi, who's a senior, check him out, UCLA left guard, right guard. I coached him in high school.
Okay.
He was our 3 technique, and he played left guard. So he was recruited to play nose. Here's a kid. I feel like Chris Collins here. Here's a guy. He blows his Achilles in November of 2017 in a playoff game. It was like the series before we were going to take out the ones, too. I'm an idiot. He blows his Achilles. He goes to UCLA. He's 17 years old. So, you know how Polynesian kids, they're always older than everybody else because they go on their missions and stuff? Sarah's like the opposite. They're always younger. So, like, Neo should have been a junior when he left. Here's a guy, 17 years old. He tore his Achilles in November. He is starting as a nose tackle against Cincinnati in the first game of the season.
Wow.
For UCLA. 8 months removed, 9 months removed from
9 months later.
Fully blown Achilles injury, and he was kicking ass. But they moved him to guard because I think he could be, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scout. He may be a low round pick. He may not get drafted. I don't know. I don't know that shit. But, like, he is a monster. And he's at UCLA. Antonio Mafi or Neo Mafi. I'd actually love to have a conversation with you when you get, whenever you get around to doing O-lineman or that far down. I'd love to hear just your thoughts. It's kind of weird to see my players getting at that level now, but even though I've had a couple of guys that have, like Aesop Winston, who played at the Saints.
Yep.
Actually, but another bone to pick. I wanted him to play corner. I was like, hey, I need you to take some one-on-one reps today. And he goes, for what? And I was like, you son of a bitch. But anyway, but yeah. So it's just, but to be like, they moved him to guard. And he's been awesome. But to have the eye to be like, this guy does this and he could do this, and at that level with that much scrutiny, I wouldn't want that job. That's tough.
I'll say this from my experience, and I know one of the original questions here was, you know, experiences that help with scouting. My degree in exercise science, I mean, you look at biomechanics, so you get to see gait patterns and builds and force application and where a guy's weaknesses are and how he compensates his frame. So stuff like that has been very helpful for me personally to kind of understand and evaluate, okay, if this guy is going to work, these are the things that need to change. These are the places he needs to get stronger. This is where he needs to put more mass. But it is all projection based, like you said, and it's kind of this high stakes game of educated guesses, because there's no fine science and there's no finite way, or there's finite ways to do it, where you could do it this way and other teams going to choose to do it a completely different way.
Yeah, I have a couple of buddies that are, one's a scout at the Bills, one's a scout at the Cowboys, and just the different processes and things and what they look for. And one of my favorite stories in all of football is the Scott Pioli, where he kept a picture of Brady on his desk next to the picture of the guy he took in the 5th round. To keep himself humble. Like, if I was so smart, everybody says I'm so smart. If I was so smart, I would have taken him in the 5th round, not the 6th round.
Right.
And nobody, and that's the other thing I want to say this about drafting and stuff. I want to be very clear about, this is just my opinion, take it for what it's worth, but nobody knows for sure. Everybody's giving their best educated guesses. That doesn't mean that these people are wrong. Just like betting. There are people who are betting gurus, but they're still wrong 40% of the time or whatever. Like, it's a crapshoot. Now, it's an educated crapshoot. It's not a crapshoot in the sense like close your eyes and you pick a guy. But there's so much happens even after a guy gets drafted. The maturity, how do they handle money? How do they settle into a place? Like, these are human beings, and we forget that. Like, you're a kid from the streets in L.A., and you've been in sunny L.A., and all of a sudden now you're drafted by Buffalo. And now you got to go play in the cold. You've never seen snow before. And now all of a sudden you go to practice one day and you have to shovel your driver. I mean, they're humans. They're not robots. Who responds to that? You know what I mean? Like it's some guys are mentally tougher than others, and some guys can go on a field and run through a brick wall and take physical pain, but maybe they have seasonal affective depression or something, where like they get in the Northeast and they, you know what I mean? Like, you know, how the hell do they know? Because they've never been in that position.
Right.
You know, like it's you're trying to project somebody that's doing something they've never done before. That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. Anyway.
And you only have so many opportunities to just talk to them and not even put them in that environment. So like you said, I think the number one thing you said, and this is the greatest appreciation I've had, and I know we're wrapping up here, but the fact that these are human beings, and you gain a greater appreciation for the human dynamic of the game of football at a professional level as you are closer. And that's the one thing I am most thankful for of this opportunity, is to get to know some players personally and understand they're living a dream, but for them, there's struggles that can be involved in that. And gaining a greater appreciation for that has been a pretty meaningful part that's helped me appreciate the game of football more than I did before.
I mean, imagine never having anything in your life monetarily. Nothing. Struggle. Then all of a sudden, you're handed a lump sum of money, a signing bonus. And we're not a first-round guy, you're a fifth-round guy. And you get this little bit of bonus. And then all of a sudden, all these family members are showing up out of nowhere, wanting a handout, wanting a piece of you. And you're in some place where you don't know anybody. And the only people you know are your coworkers. Like, I know it's a sports team, but they're still your coworkers. It's still a job. Like, I know when I moved to San Jose, I got there at 5 p.m. on a Thursday. They said, see you tomorrow at 8 for your first day of work. And I had one day off in 4 months, working 17-hour days. I didn't know a single person except for my coworker. You think after working for 17 hours, the one day off I had, you think I wanted to go hang out with I loved them. You think I want to go hang out with my coworkers on my day off? Like, it's a job like any other. And you don't know anybody. Yeah. You're in a foreign place. It's a lot to adjust to. And not only that, but every fucking little thing you do is being broadcast all over, and idiots like me are sitting here talking about it and judging
hyperanalyzed. Yeah.
I mean, I adjusted poorly when I moved to Clovis. I was working from home. I was an independent contractor. Now I'm in a classroom and I got to wear a polo, and I got people checking on my work all the time. And I can't imagine if fucking ESPN was stationed outside my office. Like, Chris was 3 minutes late back from work, and like everybody's on, what a piece of shit. I can't imagine what that's like. But anyway, I could talk to you forever. I got to get back to scouting. I got to do my own scouting, different kind of scouting. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Check out Kyle's work. And if you want to learn more about it, hit him up. Talk to him. He's a pretty open guy.
Please. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that want to know this stuff, and I think it's fascinating, and maybe you'll turn me into a draft freak again. Maybe I'll be on here in April and be like, boo, and there's like the 7th round, like, you should have taken that guy from Wisconsin Whitewater, or whatever. So thank you so much, my man.
That's the hope. All right, Coach. Appreciate it.
See you, my man. Thank you.